12 na 13 Kitweke FM ikishirikiana na NEM Bonde la Ufa. Tarehe 12 msafara wa Kitweke FM utapitia maeneo ya Mosoriot, Chepterit, Himaki, Namgoi, Kapsabet, Kaptumo na kisha tumalizie Nandi Hills. Tarehe 13 msafara wetu utaanzia Kipsitet, Kapsoita, Sosiota, Kabianga, Litein, Kapkatet, Kericho na kisha tumalizie Bruka. Tarehe 14 watangazaji wa Kitwek kuabudu pamoja na waumini wa kanisa la Voice of Gospel Church lililoko Ngoina Road. Njoo ukutane na wanahabari na waenzi wa Kitwek FM wakiwemo Peter Cheriot aka Semason, Joan Beth, Winnie Cherono, Enoch Ngetich aka Mr. Wadis na wengine wengi. Kitwek FM, Kigasin.
Get where them want and switch it up already. Be safe in this line. Nobody make Babylon change your mind. The line put them playing up the radio. That's what you're going on and turn up the stereo. One Babylon talking, no, I know one of those days. Life known and easy rod, still young to carry on. Think strong. Get computerized. Them have we under surveillance day and night. Action man, oh, you know she want a action man. Action man, she want.
Always a perfect way to start your day. Good morning. From whichever part of the country you are watching us from, you're right in time for your favorite show on the land. My name is Victor Lowe and this is Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. How was your night? Fantastic. All right. Sisi pia tuko hapa. We hope you had a good one. We are ready for the show and it's going to be a very good morning because we have got, so much lined up for you. So you should expect a lot to get from us. Kama kawaida, I'm not alone. Yes, 4 people. There you have it. Yes, that one. Apple. And how do you go about it? Left, right. It's confusing.
You are right.
Regina
Northeast.
Can go Chini.
Regina is north.
North.
Doreen is northeast.
And you are southwestern. Do we have such?
It can't be southwest.
No, I'm to your.
Right means whichever part of the compass.
East to west. East is to the right. Yeah, so north east, Doreen ako northwest.
And Regina is
North.
directly
North.
ground zero.
True north.
True north.
Oh yes, because I'm someone's true north. Hallelujah.
Sorry, Bas.
Oh yes.
Sorry.
Oh yes.
True north.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, I'm the true north.
Pick it from there, Regina. Good morning.
Good morning, true north speaking here. I represent Meru County and Kajiado County as well. And I think I'm the true north to Nyeri County.
Yes.
So yes. We have declared our county.
Yeah.
Not wealth or status, but just our county. So I'm glad to be alive, and I want to start off with a quote from one of our viewers who has sent it, and this is none other than Belinda. She says, when tough times come, you must have to hold on tight and remind yourself everything comes to an end. Someday it will get better and won't even matter anymore.
Oh yes.
This too shall pass.
Belinda, message to me. I have shared it to the world, so to speak.
Belinda, thank you.
Yes. People need to appreciate each other and know that tough times do not last always.
Yeah.
However, it is darkest before dawn. What you need to do is to hold on and believe that there's some time. It will be your time in the sun soon enough.
Our time in the sun is coming. Na juu story hadi director amesema niambie Ray ashikilia hapo kwanza asiendelee na hizo quote naziangusha. Guardian,
Motivation Wednesday.
Motivation Wednesday. You are motivated. We know why. The Lord has been good.
Oh.
And has been good to her. The Lord is doing a new thing. The Lord is doing a new thing in your life. So why not?
It is a beautiful Wednesday morning. Welcome to the program. I am Jane Wamboy, as always, and we will never tire to tell you that we are glad that you always choose to start your morning with us right here on Good Morning Kenya, the larger part of the larger KBC family. Remember, you can always talk to us. Big shout out going out to Belinda. But for those of you who haven't already checked in, hashtag ni Good Morning Kenya. Our official station handle ever remains to be KBC Channel 1 across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are live on Facebook. We are live on our YouTube channel as well as our website. That is www.kbc.co.ke /andika KBC /live, and you'll be able, that is the direct link to stream us live. So tubebe, kama unatoka kwa nyumba, tubebane. Miss D,
Tubebe.
T-minus how many days tuache kukuita Miss D?
Good morning.
Tubebe.
Good morning.
Tubebane.
Hii msimu ni ya kubebana.
Ni ya kubebana.
Watu wabebane wawili.
Mabebo ya hali ya juu.
Good morning to your viewer. You are our most valued person simply because you just take your time to switch on your TV and tune into KBC Channel 1 every morning, 6:30 to 10 a.m. Being a Wednesday, we have a lot in store for you, beginning now up until the end of the show. From what is making news in the GMK News Briefs to what we have for you in the different dailies, the different conversations, as well as also how our roads will be looking like. So we urge you to stay up and a full packed up show just for you. Many thanks for making time. I'm Doreen Arange.
Indeed, and I'm Regina Manyara. You just tuned in. Remember, we have so much in store for you.
Yeah.
All
right. So, you have it. So today, later on in the program, by the way, we have got CAS, that's Chief Administrative Secretary of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, David Osian. We want to talk about issues trade, enterprise, and matters to do with industrialization in the country. The president just opened up the country the other day, and we suffered a big deal. And industrialization, trade is, part and the backbone of our nation. And perhaps, Jen, we should expect, good things to come in the coming days. Even Doreen, from where you're sitting, what do you expect?
Clearly, from what, we went through as a country.
Yes, yeah.
Had hit sectors, the tourism, hotel industry, as well as entertainment, and also just from a bigger chunk, the hotel industry. So clearly there's a lot of expectations, as well as also the different strategies laid up by the ministry, and most importantly, the implementation, because we keep talking about policies and strategies being good on paper, but sometimes the question is, how best will it be implemented to actually make all the sense that we actually see on paper? So clearly there's a lot of expectations, and just the same as how it is for a good number of Kenyans, it is the same for me.
Right.
And I believe it's the same for all of us, not just us here in studio, but even our viewers at home, about the economy, the recovery plan, basically. Yeah. And given industrialization, manufacturing is also one of the big four agenda, and it falls smack in the middle of that. Just how are we going to get back? Give us answers. We are here to listen. But of course, we welcome all your views. Again, questions, comments, clarifications, we always welcome them right here on Good Morning Kenya. And on that note, Director amesema sasa we can hand it over to Regina. Endelea na maquote. Ukitupatia news.
Floor ni yako. The floor is yours.
Chafua.
Make sure you utilize it very well.
All that I can say that I'm happy this morning. I'm a happy soul. I'm usually a happy soul, but today I'm more than happy. I'm elated.
You're the true north, we understand.
Yes, I'm the true north. I'm the true north. I'm the true north.
Victor,
I believe so, and leave me alone, Victor. It's nothing to joke around with.
Isn't it too serious?
Mimi nakwambia kama kungekuwa na game ya ball jana, hatungekuwa tunacheka hivi.
My friend.
Regina, Take it away.
You know, what you need to know, Jane, Doreen, and Victor,
Yes.
is that whatever you value in your life should not just be something. It should be everything.
Voila.
Kaboom, drops mic.
Huyu mtu hana kuchangamusha, basi sisi tuko tu hapa.
Anani affect.
Sawa, tufanyie news basi. When we continue at this rate, we won't do news.
No, we will. Now, talking about news, remember you can get further details pertaining those stories that have been making headlines on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. But for now, in the headlines, starts off with matters security, where police have placed a 10 million shillings bounty on the heads of 5 armed suspects believed to be terrorists on a mission to carry out attacks in the country. The 5, Elgiva Bwire Oliacha, Trevor Ndwega, Barigi Abdikadir, Salim Rashid, and Mohammed Abubakar, are wanted for criminal-related activities in Kenya. Bwire was reported to have been kidnapped with his lawyer, Professor Hassan Nadwa, on October 28th. Nadwa resurfaced in Mwingi on Monday.
Missing terror convict Elgiva Bwire's story took a new twist on Tuesday after police announced he had gone underground, yet a group of activists had been claiming he had been kidnapped alongside his lawyer, Professor Hassan Nadwa, who resurfaced on Monday. Bwire is among the 5 who include Trevor Ndwiga, Barigi Abdikadir, Salim Rashid, and Mohammed Abubakar, that the DCI described as armed and dangerous, who have either joined terror groups including Al-Shabaab and ISIS, or have gone underground planning attacks. It is keen to note that Bwire was released on Thursday, October 28th, from Committee Maximum Prison after serving a 10-year prison term, only to go missing alongside his lawyers, who later were traced to Mwingi in Kitui County. But the family of Mohammed Abubakar is crying foul after the police listed their kin among the 5 most wanted criminals. They claim that the picture posted in the DCI Twitter handle is recent, since the t-shirt he is wearing was the last one he wore when he went missing.
Hakuna mtu kwenye familia ana picha hiyo iliyowekwa leo katika posta. Mohamed amepigwa, ameumizwa sana, maskini mtoto wangu. Na shati alova ni
huyu kijana hajasafiri maisha yake wala hajaenda kokote, na tunaomba serikali haya maneno yao imefikia mahali ambao tunaweza kupata mwelekeo. Tunaomba sisi Mohamed arejeshwe.
They claim Mohammed is a second-year student at Umma University who has never traveled outside the country and has no link with terrorists.
Oh yeah, this is me trying to do some signing there and making my fingers, active as such. As you say, sign language is very important at this point. Away from matters, sign language is that the National Assembly Committee on Health has asked all stakeholders to support the Kenya Medical Supplies Authorities Board as organizational restructuring gets underway. Committee Chairperson Sabina Chege dismissed reports that the military and related security agencies had taken over the management of KEMSA. Zainab Said with the details.
The National Assembly's Health Committee has denied that there is an ongoing takeover at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority. Murang'a County Women Representative Sabina Chege, however, says reforms will be effected at KEMSA, urging stakeholders to support the process and have faith in the authority.
I would want to say we are comfortable to hear that the board is in full control. The whole issue about the military, NYS, and that has been flying around, we've been assured that that's not the issue and the board is in control. Our asking as a committee is to make sure that they take care of the employees, make sure that as they restructure, they also make sure that they follow the law and due process to be followed.
The roping in of the National Youth Service has been met with fury from some quarters which have challenged the move.
This board also ensures that we'll have a proper management team and to make sure also that we do not interfere with the supplies. We have also been told that KEMSA is almost on its knees because they have many people who owe them a lot of money. My appeal to the county government is that if you owe KEMSA, kindly pay.
The Council of Governors, in welcoming the reforms at KEMSA, said it wants to be enjoined in the management of the authority. The Council of Governors chairperson Martin Wambora said the demand for medical supplies in the 47 counties is huge, and it will only make sense if counties are placed at the heart of operations.
Where the Supreme Court has dismissed an application seeking to have 3 judges of the Apex Court recuse themselves from the BBI appeal case. In striking out the application, the Apex Court ruled that it had no merit. The Supreme Court has therefore set the hearing of the BBI appeal for 18th January to the 20th of January 2022.
We are giving directions to the hearing of the 3 petitions of appeal that were filed before us.
The Supreme Court has consolidated 3 petitions challenging the Court of Appeal decision that nullified the BBI constitutional amendment process.
The appellants will have 15 days within which to file their written submissions and list of authorities. And similarly, the respondents will have 15 days within which to respond.
Activist Isaac Aluchiel had sought to have Justice Njoki Ndongo, Smoking Wanjala, and Mohammed Ibrahim recast themselves from the case. Aluchiel had argued that the 3 may show bias. That application was, however, struck out by the Apex Court.
The applicant has not demonstrated and or adduced any such evidence in support of the allegations on bias by any of the cited judges.
The court allowed all application for amici, saying the submissions filed by the different amicus curiae will help in reaching a determination but will not be allowed to make oral submissions.
And we find that the amici have filed a detailed brief which shall be of use to the court, and therefore we shall admit their application, we shall allow the application, admit them as amici curiae. The briefs attached to the application are deemed as filed, and the applicants shall not make oral submissions at the hearing of the petitions.
Through the Solicitor General, Attorney General Kihara Kariuki is challenging finding of the Court of Appeal, which had held that the basic structure doctrine is applicable in Kenya. The AG is also challenging the ruling that civil proceedings can be instituted against the president during his tenure of office. On its part, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is challenging the constitutional composition, quorum, and mandate of the electoral body. On August 20, Appellate Court upheld the High Court ruling that nullified the BBI constitutional amendment process, declaring several stages and actions unconstitutional and unlawful.
The High Court in Eldoret has directed that Ibrahim Rotich, the prime suspect in the murder of athlete Agnes Tirop, be taken for mental assessment at the Moi Referral Hospital before being charged. Deputy Registrar of the High Court in Eldoret, Diana Milimo, on Tuesday ordered that Rotich be produced before the court on the 16th of this month to be charged with the murder of the athlete. State Counsel David Feather said the suspect has to undergo the mental test before being charged. Rotich first appeared before resident magistrate Naomi Wairimo in Iten after being held for 20 days to facilitate investigations into the murder of Agnes Tirop.
Be escorted for mental assessment at Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, and he be produced before the duty judge on 16th of November 2021 for plea taking. In the meantime, he is to be remanded at Eldoret Railway Police Station as prayed.
Now on to matters politics. Deputy President William Ruto has once again taken issue with the proponents of the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020, accusing them of dishonesty. Ruto, who was addressing a delegation of Kisumu residents on the first day of his tour of Nyanza region, said those pushing for the BBI initiative are not coming out clean on their motives.
Deputy President William Ruto has kicked off his tour of the Nyanza region, holding an indoor meeting with a section of residents in Kisumu City. The DP used the occasion to poke holes into the contents of the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020.
The real issue with BBI, which nobody wants to tell the country, and even the people who are proposers of this BBI, they are ashamed of it. They wanted to change the Constitution to install an imperial presidency.
He said the proposed creation of the office of the Ombudsman would have only jeopardized the independence of the judiciary.
If you say you want to give the president power to appoint members of parliament as ministers, right? You want to give the president power to appoint an ombudsman to go and supervise the judiciary. What have you said? You have said the president now has power over the executive. The president has power over the legislature because he can manipulate the legislature using the ministers, and he can appoint 50, 100 of them. And the president has power over the judiciary because he can use the ombudsman to manage the judiciary and whatever decisions they want to make.
The Deputy President will, in the next 2 days, popularize his political campaign in Nyanza by selling his bottom-up economic model to area residents.
Apart from CDF, 150 million ya kujenga mashule na kulipa basari, next year tunaweka another 150 million kila constituency, kila mwaka ya kusupport hizi enterprises ya mama mboga na hawa watu wengine hawa wote, local enterprises.
Ruto will tour Homa Bay and Migori counties, regions perceived to be ODM leader Raila Odinga's political backyard. Wycliffe Okech, Prime Edition, Kisumu County.
On matters politics, ODM leader Raila Odinga has called on Kenyans to live in harmony and unity, as well as shun tribalism as the country heads to the 2022 general election. Speaking when he met a delegation from the Lower Eastern region in Nairobi, Raila also underscored the need to protect rights of women, saying that their contribution into society is immeasurable.
The need for Kenyans and politicians to shun divisive politics was the clarion call during a meeting between ODM leader Raila Odinga and a delegation from Lower Eastern region.
Manake waanzilishi wa taifa letu walikuwa na ndoto. Ile kitu inaitwa ndoto ya Kenya, the Kenyan dream.
The ODM leader Raila Odinga saying it's time Kenyans embrace each other's brothers and sisters and avoid profiling on tribe, race and religion factors.
Haki itakuwa ngao na mlinzi kama kuna demokrasia katika taifa. Hakuna watu kushurutishwa ati mama na baba nini, hapana. Alafu tukae kwa undugu, amani na uhuru. Undugu ni watu wanapendana kama wandugu. Hakuna ubaguzi. Ati huyu ni Mkamba, huyu ni Mluhya, huyu ni Mjaluo, Mkikuyu, Mkalenjin, Mwarabu, Mswahili, Mjikenda na kadhalika. Yeye ni Mkenya.
The former premier also emphasizing the need of having a government that prioritizes giving a proper education to the younger generation, improving health facilities and focus on reviving collapsed industries to create wealth and employment. Leaders who attended the meeting faulting the deputy president for allegedly taking credit for the good the Jubilee government has done and at the same time blaming the same government for failures.
Wakati ya campaign ilikuwa inaitwa Uhuruto. Hii ilikuwa serikali ya President Uhuru na yeye. Na yeye mwenyewe alisimama kama naibu wa rais. Akasema ya kwamba tutatengeneza kila mwaka kazi 1,000,000.
Kama kitu inaendelea vizuri kwa serikali ya Uhuru, Ruto anataka kuchukua credit. Tumefanya hii, tumejenga hii barabara, tumefanya hii kama Jubilee. maneno ikienda kombo, sasa hiyo hayuko hapo, ni Uhuru peke yake.
Keeping up with matters politics, the Amani National Congress Parliamentary Group is calling on the political class to give the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission room to execute its mandate. At the same time, the ANC Parliamentary Group resolved to continue popularizing party leader Musalia Mudavadi's presidential bid across the country.
A parliamentary group meeting in Nairobi chaired by party leader Musalia Mudavadi, the Amani National Congress resolved to support the ongoing preparations by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, saying no Kenyan should be coerced to make a choice come August 2022.
Sisi kama ANC hatutaki tena furugu za IBC. Tunataka IBC ianze maandalizi ya uchaguzi mwakani tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8, ambapo sisi kama ANC tuko tayari kuingia pale na kuweza kuomba kura kwa wananchi.
Ikiwa ni governor, ikiwa ni women rep, ikiwa ni senator, cheo chochote, hata governor, ambacho kinahitajika kuwa na kiongozi, watu wasishurutishwe.
The party also resolved to continue popularizing Mudavadi's presidential candidature across the country ahead of the National Delegates Conference.
Zidi kutoa sera zetu kwa Wakenya na tutazidi kuweka mizizi yetu katika sehemu zote za kitaifa, tukiwavutia wapiga kura, na tunataka wagombea viti katika kila sehemu.
Elsewhere, Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Wairia has maintained he will not relinquish his interest to run for the top seat come 2022.
Ni safari ya mwananchi. Mwananchi ndiye ataamua. Na mimi nataka kutangaza tena na tena na tena, kupitia kwa chama cha usawa kwa wote, mimi nitakuwa mgombea wa kiti cha urais. Na tunasemaga kwamba ndulu huanza nyumbani.
Wairia says as a representative of the vote-rich Mount Kenya region, he cannot be a running mate, and anyone seeking to join him should support his bid for State House.
On that note, we'll be taking a quick breather, but when we come back, we'll be bringing you up to speed with what is happening in the Nairobi County, where Anne Karanu is expected to be sworn in as the governor of Nairobi County in the course of this week. This and so much more up next after this quick break.
Wewe nyamaza. Ubaya wako ni kelele. Sina muongelesha na lugha yake.
Lakini hata wewe ulijaribu mpaka pani okaia pani eroti na agwe.
Mimi kuna wakati nimekuletea nguo.
Habana?
Very good. Wewe ni pipi yangu?
Habana?
Very good. Na kwa nini unakuja kueleza mambo ya urongo kwa mahakama?
Sasa unaona unafanya mpaka tajiri yako analia.
Acha kilie.
Utafunga kazi.
Unaona?
Miss! How dare you? Are you afraid that your brother will take your throne back when he finally returns? He's here! Jonesy! Be careful. Slow.
Yuji Chin must be killed, or else those old ministers might help him get back the throne.
Where are they?
They should be right inside.
Guys!
Unavuka mipaka, umekwenda kinyume cha sheria.
Hiyo usifikirie wanitisha. Unajua unaweza kuwazubaisha hao wengine manake hawakujui, lakini mimi mamako, mimi ndio mje kuzaa na kujua ndani na nje.
Lazima nitoke sasa hivi, nisipotoka sitaweza kutoka tena.
Stay away from my wife. Kama unataka kujua about Kate, hautoka kwa dengo, umesikia?
Sitaki uje hapa tena na sitaki uwe kunipigia simu. Kwa heri.
Maya.
If you're tuning in, this is in the headlines on KBC Channel 1, and I'm Regina Manyara. Now, the Ministry of Health has commenced the implementation of the tools for integrated management of childhood illnesses. Now, the global effort aimed at reducing child mortality. The pilot project, which was kicked off in 3 counties, is expected to put in place interventions to reduce deaths in children under the age of 5. Ruth Omboy reports.
Child mortality has been a great hindrance to development of many countries around the globe. Statistics indicate an estimated 5.6 million children under the age of 5 died in 2016 due to preventable or treatable causes.
15% of child deaths were due to pneumonia in 2018, and it was the second biggest killer of children under 5 in 2017.
To avert this situation, Kenya is in the process of implementing the tools for integrated management of childhood illness project.
So we're generating important and currently missing evidence on the feasibility of using these tools, the cost effectiveness of using these tools, and the health impact of using these tools.
A similar program has already been rolled out in Tanzania, Senegal, Myanmar, and India. In Kenya, the project is being piloted in 3 counties, namely Kitui, Kakamega, and Uasin Gishu.
And we have seen a great achievement by use of this CDSA and the pulse oximetry, because now the 2 pre-piloting health facilities, the healthcare workers there are able to detect severe illness.
A study by health researchers indicates medical devices such as pulse oximeters correctly identified hypoxemia in 20 to 30% more children than relying on clinical symptoms alone. As Kenya strives to achieve sustainable development goals, TIMS is one of the key agenda in ending child mortality.
To the counties where the Kenya Union of Domestic Hotels, Educational Institutions and Hospital Workers is calling for adoption of solutions to climate change. They say solutions could create jobs in sectors such as ecotourism, agrotourism, as well as wellness tourism. Details of this from across the county.
Kenya Union of Domestic Hotels, Educational Institutions and Hospital Workers Secretary General Albert Njeru noted global warming has indirectly and directly affected the hospitality sector, hence the need for alternative solutions.
Climate change is real. Hospitality sector is being affected by climate change to an extent that production of food, creation of employment, including issues of biodiversity, needs to be addressed like yesterday.
Elsewhere, the national government has banned grazing of livestock in Baragoi town and its outskirts as a measure to beef up security in Samburu North. Samburu County Commissioner Abdirizak Jeldesa asked herders to vacate the town immediately, failure to which their livestock will be rounded up.
Tuna implement kupitia wale wazee ambao wako in charge ya hizo manyata ambazo ziko hapo karibu Bendera na zile zingine Ingilai, na tunajua kwamba itafanyika ili tuweze kudumisha amani Baragoi, na tumezungumza na viongozi mbalimbali ili tuweze kutembea hii safari ya kuleta amani Baragoi.
In other news, Bondo Member of Parliament Gideon Ochanda has called for speedy investigation into the alleged embezzlement of Uwezo Funds loans repaid by beneficiaries from his constituency between 2014 and 2018.
Members were repaying an account thinking that it was the main account where repayment was supposed to be done. Yet they were paying a fraudulent account. And that fraudulent account, from what we have heard now, also had the name of Uwezo. And that was a complete parallel account.
Finally, Ngumo Ward representative in the Makueni County Assembly, Alfred Mutuku, and 3 others have been charged at the Makindu Law Courts for malicious damage of property at Mboinzau along the Mombasa-Nairobi Highway. The 4 were each released on a 50,000 shillings bond, and the case will be mentioned on November 25, 2021.
Away from matters counties, let's delve into the world of business, where 1 million youth are set to benefit from digital skills, among them data entry, transcription and online marketing, as part of the Ashara Digital Ready to Work program, founded in partnership with the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. ICT Administration Secretary Lucy Mulili lauded the initiative, saying it will go a long way in enhancing employability of the youth by equipping them with digital skills required to access online jobs. Through the Ashara Digital Program seeks to position Kenya as a choice labor destination and a business process outsourcing hub for multinational companies, as well as encourage local companies and the public sector to create digital work.
Work can only be generated, catalyzed, when the private sector is thriving and growing.
Over 60,000 youth have been trained under the Ashara Digital Program across the country since its inception 5 years ago, joining the millions of Kenyans making a living from online jobs.
We genuinely think that business solutions and public-private partnerships are required to address social issues and to deliver the Africa Rising narrative to all. Otherwise, inclusive prosperity will not be achieved for the majority of Africans, and the challenge of disenfranchised youth will continue to grow with its attendant consequences.
To further build capacity, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance is working with APSA to roll out the Ready for Work program that targets 1 million youth. Beneficiaries are to acquire soft digital skills, including data entry, transcription, and online marketing, among others, under the initiative aimed at easing access to online jobs for the youth.
The availability of Ashara Youth Empowerment Centers at the constituency and sub-county level can be fully utilized, even by youths without digital devices.
The Ashara Ready to Work program also targets startups and professionals keen on increasing their digital skills. ICT Administration Secretary Lucy Mulili has urged the private sector to invest more in ICT capacity building, especially among the youth, to tackle unemployment. Now, engineers want the government to allocate 25% of all infrastructure budgets to local contractors to spur the local construction sector. The Institution of Engineers of Kenya, President Engineer Nathaniel Matalanga, says foreign contractors are the biggest beneficiaries of the big-ticket projects, snapping up more than 90% of all state projects. He spoke during the ongoing 28th Engineers Conference in Mombasa.
In July 2014, the government passed a policy requiring all foreign firms to subcontract 30% of the value of their work to local firms. This was meant to spur the industry at a time when the country was embarking on multi-billion shillings projects. However, this policy has never been effected to the letter, with local contractors ceding more grounds to their foreign counterparts.
We'll recommend that systems be put in place where we break down the size of the projects to manageable portions, so that our local contractors, our local engineers can manage to participate.
A research by the National Construction Authority last year showed that only 2% of major construction projects are undertaken by local contractors. NCA further showed that 73% of all stakeholders cited inadequate qualified workers, low coordination levels and lack of enforcement of the 30% policy.
Kenyan engineer, well-trained, well-grounded and attained the level of professional engineer is competent enough to partake and do competently any work, any type of engineering works in this, not just in this country, but in this world.
Transport Chief Administrative Secretary Chris Obure urged all government agencies to enforce the 30% policy to tap local contractors. Obure has said the government is exploring increasing local contractors' finance from 24 to 30% and their participation in the construction sector from 15 to 50%. The 5-day meeting brings together more than 3,000 engineers from Africa to discuss the role of engineers in sustainable economic development.
Engineering is a key component for any major construction. So the linkage between engineering and CONSA is that CONSA Technopolis is one of the flagship projects under the Vision 2030. It's one of the mega projects going on in this country. To deploy it, you need several engineers and professionals to take it from the design to construction and even to operation.
On to matters as cybersecurity, where small businesses are being encouraged to consider pooling their resources to invest in a shared cybersecurity platform to overcome the challenge of high cost of ICT security systems. Dimension Data says most small businesses use counterfeit security software to save on costs that ends up compromising customer data and exposing businesses to online fraud and cyber attack.
Communication Authority of Kenya data shows that 38.8 million cyber threats were flagged between April and June this year, as cyber criminals increased targets on Kenyans online. Players in the cybersecurity industry say 60% of cyber threats now target small businesses due to their fragile cybersecurity software that can be easily hacked.
The attackers are now realigning themselves to hijack personal information, because this is the same information that customers use to make payments on this online platform.
Small businesses, especially those with e-commerce platforms, are being encouraged to consider putting resources to invest in cybersecurity systems to safeguard their crucial data.
We are trying to always also do a lot of research, trying to find out what are the new ways of being able to help businesses be resilient. And by resiliency, I'm talking about being able to identify attacks, being able to protect, detect all of these that are happening, being able to respond to the attacks as well, and lastly, being able to recover.
Small businesses are further being urged to vet their third-party service providers before entrusting them with customers' data.
What this means for SMEs is that there's a bigger mandate on their part to protect customer data, protect what we call personal identifiable information.
Small businesses in the manufacturing, health and financial service sectors are the worst affected by online fraud.
We had healthcare, manufacturing and finance all within the SME sector that were really subject to a lot of cyber attacks.
Dimension Data is advising businesses to constantly upgrade their systems and train staff on cybersecurity to minimize cases of online fraud.
Now, just in case you've been wondering why, you feel so much heat when you go to purchase, especially fast-moving consumables here, it's now because Kenyans will have to dig deeper into their pockets following a public notice issued by the Kenya Revenue Authority on a raise of excise duty on various consumer goods. 4.97% increase in excise duty is in line with the average annual inflation. The raise came into effect on the 2nd of November this year, bringing with it a subsequent rise in the cost of living.
Linked excise will have consumers paying 5 shillings and 77 cents more for a litre of beer, while prices for spirits will rise by up to 13 shillings and 20 cents. Duty on chocolate will increase by 10 shillings 43 cents per kilogram. The price of a packet of 20 cigarettes will rise by 3 shillings and 29 cents. And the duty on bottled water will go up from 5 shillings and 74 cents to 6 and 3 cents per litre. In a statement, Stop Crime Kenya have criticized KRA on the move, saying such hefty increments on excise duty will pave way for contraband goods leaking into the market, putting local producers at a disadvantage. Stock chairman says Kenyans have evaded a hike in taxes last month on 31 goods following a court ruling, but they face peril and hard economic times going forward due to these increments, especially considering the coming festive season. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers has continually urged the taxman to pause implementation of the annual inflation adjustment tax that affects excisable goods, citing economic hardships as a result of the COVID-19 crisis.
Now you know, so the cost of inflation, that increases the cost of living by a margin there, 7.9%. And that is no joke. But here, we're saying we're here to complete the journey. And you live once. So unless we get to economic recovery as soon as possible, this will be our current state of affairs until things take a turn for the better. Then, as far as fiscal planning is concerned, plans are underway to establish an East African regional spatial plan to address the issue of population growth, urbanization, and economic growth in the regional bloc. With the rates of rural-urban migration up on an upward trajectory, policymakers and governments in the region have been urged to mind the integral need for urban expansion.
The Kenya Institute of Planning President Joachim Nyarangi said that while planning for the next decade for the achievement of Vision 2030, regional states need to address the issue of urbanization and increased population. Nyarangi said that top among the issues being discussed in a 5-day convention in Malindi is the idea of the spatial framework, which will guide and integrate how their economies will grow spatially.
We also have a clear indication that the spatial outlay of this integration can best be seen when you're looking at it from an East African point of view. And I'm glad to say that we have very good participation from Uganda, from Tanzania, from Rwanda planners, and we'll be discussing this to see can we have an East African spatial planning framework.
The Kenyan government official said the 15th annual convention came at the right time, as Kenya's recognition as a low-middle-income economy offers great aspiration of the nation. He emphasized the need to embrace planning for economic growth, as it is directly related with job creation, economic stability, sustainability of investments, raising the status of life.
And labor being a factor of production, as the perspective that we have, we cannot manage all the 3 other resources, capital, machinery, without manpower. And as we undertake our planning and changing the course and face of our country, we must embrace planning.
You need to understand as planners that your job is cut out for you. You have a very difficult responsibility because you still need to convince others that planning is important.
Now on to matters sports, where our ladies made us proud. That is Kenya's representatives in the CAF Women Champions League. Vihiga Queens boosted their chances of qualifying for the next stage of the competition after beating Asfa of Morocco 2-0 in Cairo, Egypt. Violet Wanyonyi. Well, in ladies, on to the next. Now, still speaking of matters sports, is that the national rugby sevens and basketball 3x3 teams have qualified for the Commonwealth Games set to be held next year in Buckingham, United Kingdom. The 3x3 national basketball team, which is currently the second best team in the continent after Egypt booked their slot through automatic automatic qualification since Egypt isn't a Commonwealth country. The national rugby team, Shujaa, was the first Kenyan team to qualify for the 2022 Commonwealth Games. Shujaa got a direct qualification based on their performance in the World Sevens Series. 16 men teams will compete in Buckingham in the 2022 Commonwealth Games Rugby Sevens competition, set to be held between the 29th and the 31st of July at the Coventry Stadium. Under the age of 14 left the country for the under 14 Tennis African Championship that will be staged in Tunisia starting the 11th to the 21st of this month. Meanwhile, the ITF World Tennis Tour for juniors under the age of 18 entered its second day at the Nairobi club, with 15-year-old Kenyan Liberty Kibue eliminated in the third round after losing by 2 straight sets to Indian Aryan Shah.
Liberty Kibue, who had a good start in the under-18 category after registering wins in the first and second round matches, lost 6-0, 6-0 to Indian Arya Shah.
I played yesterday a match with a Ugandan. I won. And then today I'm playing a guy from India, second round.
Joshua Knights of Belgium beat Nathan Trove of France by 6-3, 7-5 sets. Meanwhile, 7 players under the age of 14 left the country for the Under-14 African Championship that will be staged in Tunisia starting 11th to 21st of this month. The girls who will feature in the championship include Melissa Muoka, Marceline Oresha, Rehab Kipsang and Celine Ahoya. The boys who will participate in the continental event include Baraka Ominde, Brian Nyakundi and Alvin Kimanti.
Well, that puts a cap on matters in the news in the headlines, that is. But remember, you can get them on our website, www.kbc.co.ke. Before we sample what we have on our various dailies this morning studio, we're taking a quick breather. Then we have a take a look at our major roads. So do keep it right here.
Log on to the KBC website at www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
Abantu ba Minto Mbuyamole.
Your favorite Ekegusi station, Minto FM, is now at your doorstep. Enjoy the hottest Kisi music, informative and entertaining shows, and reliable news only on Minto FM. Tune in to Minto FM on 91.7 FM in Nyamira, Kisii and its environs. Minto FM in
You've got no idea what kind of trouble you're getting into, veterinarian. But I will not allow you to upset Diana. Is that clear?
What are you doing in my house?
Daddy, please just calm down. Just make sure that this turns out well.
Are you two plotting something?
News story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email newsroom@kbc.co.ke. Call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
Alright, time for that quick look on how the roads are looking like. Muthaiga Roundabout is our focus this Wednesday. Now, this is also because of that BRT taking shape along that specific route, just trying to track the progress and how all of that is affecting the traffic flow. Remember that also the bus rapid transit system is the latest project being undertaken by the state to try and ensure that most of these roads are at least become passable. We have seen a lot of road works happening over the past actually over the past years. This is in terms of whether reconstruction, expansion, recarpeting, rehabilitation. But again, there's also this new form they're trying to introduce, the bus rapid transit system. Key roads have also been mentioned, which this kind of system will be taking shape, but they've begun with Thika Superhighway. Outer Ring Road will also BRT will also be taking place along that specific route, as well as also areas of Ngong Road and different other routes even beyond the city. But this morning we just want to look at how the Muthaiga Roundabout is looking like, and also perhaps try to see how far the project has come, given that it's still taking shape along this specific route. This is how the roundabout is. Obviously one of those busy roundabouts, as well as busy areas that is just around the Muthaiga Square there, especially as you head over to the city center. Oftentimes at this time of the morning, this is basically how you would expect this road to be looking like. And again, this is why Outer Ring Road always serves as a good alternative route for our viewers coming from areas along Thika Superhighway, and that is just specific if you are not yet past the Allsops roundabout as you get to branch off to areas of Outer Ring. That is just specific on that particular section. But if you are past there, then clearly you might just have to make do with this traffic, because right now it's really thick along this specific route, especially as you leave areas of KCA there, coming to the city center, as you enjoy to areas of Utalii College as well, all through this entire section up until the Muthaiga Square, which is our focus this morning. Heavy kind of traffic. And again, this is just specific to this lane that is coming to the city center. As I mentioned, this is quite expected. It's early morning hour, one of those busy roads, and also not forgetting that construction process taking place along this stretch, which is the bus rapid transit system. So obviously, just because of all these activities, what you are seeing is basically what we would expect to see on the other section or on the other lane there, at least moving at a swift pace. So for our viewers perhaps going to areas of Thika Superhighway or even on the outskirts of Nairobi, this is just the best time for you to do that. But again, in addition to the fact that yes, it is the morning hour, BRT is also clearly taking shape. The other reason as to why you really experience heavy kind of traffic on this particular route is also because there's a lot of businesses along this area. When you look at the small scale, large scale as well, look at the schools around this area as well as the estate. So again, this is also why it became necessary to expand this road to a highway, the 8-lane road that is, and also again trying to look for better ways to just reduce the traffic flow. This is also part of what has informed the various footbridges being installed on this stretch. Again, all this just to try and see how best they can also clearly reduce the traffic flow there. And again, this is also part of what has informed the bus rapid transit system taking shape and it beginning specifically on all other roads you could think of, just beginning from Thika Superhighway. So away from that, this is still how it is looking like. Nothing is changing at all. Still heavy kind of traffic on this stretch. And just as I mentioned earlier, you can still use Allsops roundabout as you branch up to areas of of Outer Ring. This is if you are not yet past that stretch, but if you're past there, then clearly you have to make do with this traffic up until areas of Pangani intersection there as you branch off through Juja Road. You can also use that as an alternative route, or altogether still use the section of the Mlango Kubwa, that stretch roundabout there as you enjoy to Juja Road, still coming to the CBD. On the other stretch, moving at a swift pace, like I mentioned, still no traffic at all. That is how it has been. That is still how it is. Just where there's really heavy kind of traffic is as you head over to the city center, and that continues up until sections of the Globe roundabout there. But at least that is how it's looking like in terms of traffic this morning. Just as I mentioned, we'll be keenly focusing on what is happening along with Muthaiga Roundabout, and not just because of the traffic flow, but because of that bus rapid transit system, which is again a new project being undertaken by the state to try and see how best they can reduce traffic flow on most of these major routes in the city center and even beyond.
Thank you for staying with us. We now continue with In the Headlines, and right now we move on to the dailies just to update you as per what the stories have been captured on the different dailies today, as well as just reminding you the hashtag is still Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Let me start you off with the Daily Nation. Not too busy today. The main read, as you can see there, is concerning Ida Odenga. She did an exclusive interview with this particular daily, and they went on to ask about her political life, her affiliation, her opinions when it comes to her husband's political interests. And one question that they have actually put on the front page is in regards to her ties with Rachel Ruto, given their spouses are, set to be the two main contestants of next year's presidential elections. That is mostly the main read here on the front page of the Daily Nation. But then again, still on that political note, we have Raila Odinga tour raises storm, where the planned meeting in Ukambani is, sending jitters among Kalonzo Musyoka's allies who have, vowed to boycott any of their planned meetings should their leaders' interests not be put to, or rather respected for that matter. That story has been covered here on page 5 of this particular daily. And they go on to say that, of course, it talks of how they're causing Raila Odinga's planned meeting is causing jitters in Ukambani amid claims that Mr. Musyoka has been sidelined by the Orange team, and his allies even threatened to boycott the rally due to the friction that is currently between the ODM leader and Kalonzo Musyoka. But yesterday, Mr. Odinga did meet some delegation of grassroots leaders from Kitui, Machakos and Makueni, and he had a meeting with them, talked to them, and of course courtesy of the acceptance, yes, maneno inapotea, of Kivutha Kibwana's invitation. Now, coming back to the front page, Ruto in Nyanza, where he was given a wish list by his, when he was touring that particular region, given he started his 3-day tour yesterday. When he was speaking, he said that BBI was the most fraudulent and deceitful agenda carried out in the name of changing the constitution. And when he went on to say that you don't need to change the constitution in order to increase resources to counties. And also he did admit that, looking at the successive administrations that sidelined this particular region, one thing that he vowed to change once he is elected president, and of course asking for them to support his presidential bid. He pledged to look into the region's issues once he becomes president, and among them would be particularly looking at the sugar sector due to the lack of political goodwill that has been there in that particular region. He also went on to say that he will, of course, he's expected to have meeting and forums in Homa Bay, Kisumu and Migori as well. But he also made a stopover at Dago in Kisumu, in Kisumu West. I hope I said that right. Do not crucify me.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Dago. Where he donated some 300,000 Kenya shillings to Bar Union Secondary School. All right. So that was his first day of the Nyanza tour that he's currently on. Remember, it's a 3-day tour. So let's see how day 2 will be playing out today. Coming to a story that has been featured on the back page, beer border prices set to rise, and Kenyans could be paying more for bottled water, juice, motorcycle, beer and other items after KRA increased excise duty on the items to cover inflation. That is what has been captured here. And of course, the BBI battle, the stage is set for the final BBI showdown as Supreme Court frames 7 questions for this case. That is the front page of the Daily Nation for you this morning. Victor.
All right. And still on the front page of the Star newspaper, slow but sure, Mudavadi's blessings and drawbacks. Slow but sure, Mudavadi's blessings, drawbacks. For him, but for those who know Phantom, all right, he's the truest representation of the brawler on the rugby pitch and gentleman off the pitch. In politics, he's a gentleman in a game of hooligans. So they're trying to unmask Musalia Mudavadi presidential series, which is still on here on the Star newspaper and still on the front page. Ruto to Rift Valley aspirants, our friendship won't earn you nomination. You can check on that. I'll give you details briefly. Let's get into the second page here. Kenya runs out of HIV test kits for children. Babies born to HIV positive moms are being turned away from hospitals. Children born to parents living with HIV are not being tested for the virus due to shortage of test kits in Kenya. Babies born to HIV positive mothers must be tested at birth because without treatment, mortality of those who contract HIV is highest in the first 3 months. So there is a crisis looming there, and perhaps the Ministry of Health should take note on that. Bwire among 5 wanted and 10 million shillings bounty on his head. Tales of a missing terror convict El Giver Bwire took a new twist on Tuesday after the state announced that he had gone underground and described him as armed and dangerous. It put 10 million shillings bounty on his head. Bwire is among 5 individuals who, according to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, either joined terror groups including Al-Shabaab and ISIS or went underground to plan attacks. That is on the front page. And there is a cartoon here. Perhaps my cameraman can just zoom in briefly. Kenya's been making fun of KRA. My cameraman, please, just zoom in this one. There's that cartoon there. If you... there's a phone. And this, yes. And this is, perhaps this is a basin or something. And that is a KRA. And he's completely immersed himself in the phone, trying to dig deep and to...
on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yeah. What are doing there, you know?
Those that are living flashy lives on their social platforms.
Yes, and he's quite determined.
KRA anatutafuta.
I hope they're looking at that. Anyway, Kenyans are just Kenyans. Thank you so much. Just trying to make fun out of a situation, so that cartoon you can interpret it the best way you know how. And to some politics, a quick one. Ruto planned to reject election results. That's according to ODM. DP cites attack on cabinet secretaries. ODM is accusing Deputy President William Ruto of setting the stage for a disputed outcome of the 2022 presidential election. The party on Tuesday said that DP Ruto has resorted to discrediting the electoral process after realizing that the ground had shifted since its leader Raila Odinga hit the campaign trail. Politics, it's about accusations and counter-accusations. What works for you, this right does not necessarily work for me. And lastly, our friendship won't earn you nomination, Ruto tells aspirants. this is something that we talked about a week or so ago, where he said that the nomination is going to be free and fair. And most of the parties, if you remember Jane, Doreen, and Regina, where he said that if you want to be part of the group, show loyalty right now. We are going to have a post-election pact.
We will sign deals
after election. So he's also sending some tough warning here to those deputies. Deputy says that who will violate rules will automatically be disqualified from the race. So he was speaking yesterday in Kisumu, where he met aspirants and he met delegates from Kisumu, where he's still continuing with his 3-day visit to the larger Nyanza region.
Regina. Now, talking about what we have on the front page of the Standard, it seems as if this week actually things are like almost similar in as far as news is concerned. So we're talking about matters, you know, Raila, what he's doing on his campaign trail, while the deputy president, who is his arch rival in this point, ran up to the general elections come 2022, is in Kisumu. So many things have been said about the deputy president William Ruto's visit to Kisumu, with some leaders being quoted saying that, yes, let the DP go get the instruments of, you know, being the major opposition party. But be as it may, this is what has been captured on the front page of the Standard. Raila hits back as Ruto woos Kisumu. Leaders allied to ODM asked the deputy president to be ready for opposition benches after the next year's election, even as Ruto promises the region economic development through his bottom-up model, should he win. That is a front page. That is a header this morning on this particular daily. Talking about the political scene, and we've already carried this story, Mudavadi, that is the leader of ANC, as well as his parliamentary team, says that they're going to continue popularizing ANC. There is no turning back. There is no giving up, so to speak, in as far as the presidential race is concerned for Mudavadi come 2022. Well, it's a long time. If you look at it, since we say that, you know, a day in politics is quite a long time. You can change your allegiances as well with the time if you have wiggle room. But for Musalia Mudavadi, as far as yesterday and today is concerned, this morning, is that he is not turning back from top seat. Then matters of counties, we have a sad story here where children die in a fire as mother hawks eggs at night. We're going to be giving you details. And talking about Nairobi County, in just a sneak peek, is that Kananu. And Kananu is set to be sworn in as the city's third governor this week. This is after, you know, the Supreme Court threw out the case filed by former office holder Mike Sonko, challenging her appointment. This is after so many hurdles. She's now on her way to become the first city's female boss. Talking about what is happening in Nairobi City, is that also the courts have declined to transfer Lillian's property to Machakos. In case you're wondering, we're talking about the former, can we say former wife, former partner?
First lady.
Yes, former first lady of Machakos County there, Lillian Nganga. Now, Machakos governor, so to speak, Alfred Mutua, has lost the first round of a fight over property with his estranged former partner, that is Lillian Nganga. He had sought to have the court strike out Lillian's suit against him and have the matter transferred to Machakos court. But now, Nairobi Principal Magistrate E. Wanjala has dismissed his objection on account that it was frivolous and without merit. Whoa, what can we say? What can we say? Let's see something else also. After yesterday's decision by the Supreme Court, there were final prayers that were held for BBI as the court sets the dates to be determined. That is early next year. So we'll be waiting to hear which direction the court is going to take. The issues in set for determination include whether the basic structure is a doctrine applicable in Kenya and if it limits the power to amend the constitution. Secondly, whether the president can initiate changes to the constitution by a popular initiative. Third, whether the proposal to create 70 new constituencies is unconstitutional. Fourth, whether civil proceedings can be instituted against a sitting president. Fifth, place of the public participation in amending the constitution and whether BBI complied with it. Sixth, minimum quorum required for IEBC to conduct business. And last but not least, whether each proposed constitutional change should be submitted as a separate referendum question. Those are the issues to be determined, and the month is January, the dates between 18th, so to speak, and God willing, it will be a new year, and we'll be here to keep tabs on that. That's just a sneak peek of the stories that have made headlines in as far as this particular paper is concerned. Doreen.
Coming to the People's Daily, perhaps you can begin with Nairobi, with that swearing in of Anne Kananu coming anytime this week. Right now, senators are saying, or they're warning against extending NMS term. This is beyond March next year. We obviously know that the general took that particular office in February of 2020. His term is set to expire in 2022. That is in March. And now parliamentary committee has recommended that term of NMS should not be extended anytime further. There's a bit of a mixed reaction. This is amongst those senators, those of us that are saying that the NMS has really played its role very well. Those that are saying that nonetheless that term should not be extended any further. Coming to the KEMSA woes, this is regards to the employees who were who had been asked to step down. Right now, as it turns out, senators and governors claim that powerful people are attempting to cover up for their roles in graft cases that rock the drug agencies, and just saying that these junior employees were not supposed to be fired just because of the KEMSA scandals, that all this is actually the powerful and the powerful persons in government are just trying to cover up by firing of these junior employees. That is what is coming out in regards to that, the KEMSA scandal and the firing of those KEMSA employees. We also have the issue concerning what has been happening in schools, rather. And as it stands, 6 students are now accused of arson, held for 14 days. That is in Maranda High School. The 6 students have been held. And also what is coming out is that just by doing this is that they these 6 students rather who are implicated in this banning of schools, they will not be issued with certificate of good conduct, and this is part of what is coming out, and they will be held in custody for at least a period of 14 days, because as it stands out, various students in that particular school pinpointed them, saying that they are actually sure that these 14 students were the ones that caused that fire in that particular school. And also in regards to this issue of school fires, the NCCK now calls for education policy reviews amid what has been happening lately, and also they've given various reasons as to why they think this has been happening. Remember, as of yesterday, it was established that the Ministry of Education mentioned that this has nothing to do with COVID-19, as per how most Kenyans were saying, and also NCCK has established various reasons as to why these fires have been happening, and now they're calling for education policy reviews, at least to see how best they can curb that issue of fires. Coming to what is happening in regards to National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi, this is what this article is highlighting is that why Speaker Muturi is a marked man. Remember that again, also as of yesterday, we already established that the Jubilee is planning to oust him together with the deputy. What does that mean for him as well as the deputy? And again, also various reasons have been highlighted as to why they're planning to do that. And again, also Speaker Muturi says the reasons as to why the Jubilee is planning to do that in terms of ousting him. So again, when we get to the details, I'll be telling you more about that, as well as matters to do with ANC, where the delegates are set to approve Mudavadi's candidature. This is in regards to the 2022 general elections. And also that particular story again also covered on the PD, where Kalonzo allies up in arms on Ruto-Raila campaign trips. And this is because of the various places that Ruto and Raila are set to visit in that particular county, saying that this in a way is not good for Kalonzo Musyoka, now urging that the numerous tours by the duo were meant to slight the former vice president. In a nutshell, that is how the People's Daily looks like.
There you have it, Doreen. Talk of Chebukati and IEBC. Chebukati decision on politicking CSS comes back to haunt him, and IEBC criticized for blocking ministers from campaigns. yet it allowed them in 2017 polls. So polls agency actually is in a tight spot for flip-flopping on whether cabinet secretaries should participate in political campaigns ahead of the 2022 polls. The IEBC earlier position in the 2017 general election was that ministers were free to politic. IEBC chair Wafula Chebukati told journalists in a meeting with political parties that cabinet secretaries were free to campaign. This was actually at the height of the complaints by ODM leader Raila Odinga's National Super Alliance over CSS who were campaigning for President Uhuru Kenyatta then. But as it stands, however, now IBC says that cabinet secretaries should keep off the 2022 politics as their neutrality and would be diminished. So what has changed?
No, talking about IEBC and its fleeting changing goalposts, so to speak, what you can say, we are in a political season. So on a lighter note, kila mtu akae rada. Today it will be IEBC, next it will be something else, but this is a political season. The question is, what is a fact? So if this, was it entrenched in law? Does the IEBC have its decision, does it fall in its mandate? Is it within the law and such? And why is it difficult now? Anyway, if you read politics, you'll understand that this is a political season and everyone is bound to look at what favors them. So IEBC, I am more concerned about its budget deficit at a time when, we're already having a conversation about, is it going to be able to carry a free and fair, transparent election come next year? But yet that is a wait and see. I hope it really does, because if we go back to Kenya's history, the electoral body plays a central role in political stability, especially where the general elections are concerned. If we go back in history, we remember the Kivuito led commission, so to speak, and what happened therein. So we need someone who is astute, transparent, and ready to bite the bullet if push comes to shove. We'll be keeping tabs on that. And now let's shift away from matters politics, so to speak. And I want to draw your attention to matters universities. So the University of Nairobi made headlines after the professor, the vice chancellor there, said, if you do not want to pay the tuition, or rather the cost of education in that particular institution of higher learning, then you need to get another option. So there's been quite a talk, and here is a detailed report titled WASU Petition to the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Education and Research. Vice Chancellors blame the pay stalemate on poor funding. So, State of Universities is a special report that has been carried in this particular paper. The document traces a stalemate in the CBAs to 2006 when the negotiation structure was distorted, giving VCs room to take central role in the process. The header in this particular article is that university VCs bungled pay deals for selfish gain. This is according to a report, not my words, but a report that goes back way to 2006. Now, the details are in a 7-page report titled WASU Petition to the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Education and Research that was tabled on March 8, 2018. So, according to Wasonga, that is WASU Secretary General Constantine Wasonga, he says that VCs, since 2006, VCs delay processing of unions' proposals, deliberately fail to give counter offers to the unions, and also manipulate the negotiation processes. If you want to read further more on that issue, you can find yourself a copy. But just looking at the state of our institutions of learning, especially high institutions of learning, universities need to focus on the core mandates. We have heard that graduates who go through our tertiary institutions are considered half-baked, you know, by the market, or rather when it comes to job and how they execute these particular jobs that they land in. A majority of human resource practitioners have come out to say that degree holders are half-baked for the job market. So can universities now focus on core mandates? This comes at a time when also TVETs have been, you know, receiving a number of, you know, applicants for their courses, with, you know, students opting to focus on, you know, hands-on. More than theory, they're focusing on hands-on skills and focusing on entrepreneurship. Remember, this is Wednesday and we welcome your feedback. Our Twitter handle remains at KBC Channel 1. We have Traffic Marshal A1 Dorina Range and Lady Jane at Jane Wamboy and Victor Olo. We're going to be breaking off in as far as this is concerned with the various dailies that we have sampled for you in studio, but we're not done. Well, Kenya is preparing itself, you know, to look at, you know, as we're working towards post-COVID economic recovery. Where do we stand in as far as matters of industrialization are concerned? The Big Four agenda has also put aside, or rather focused on 4 areas, including value addition in manufacturing. The manufacturing sector receiving the support it requires to leapfrog the country, you know, to where it's supposed to be. I mean, as we say, the 4th industrial revolution is going to be driven by ICT. So what also does ICT play in this role? That conversation is going to be totally handled and fleshed out for you, for your enjoyment and also information, by Victor Olo in not long. I'm Regina Manyara. Do keep it KBC Channel 1.
Are you afraid that your brother will take your throne back when he finally returns?
He's here!
Jonesy!
Be careful. Slowly.
Yuji Chen must be killed, or else those old ministers might help him get back the throne.
Where are they?
They should be right inside.
Guys!
Mulituita na tukaitika. Ndio maana tarehe 12 na 13 Kitweke FM ikishirikiana na Nema na kaunti za Nandi na Kericho inakuletea roadshow babu kubwa katika eneo la Bonde la Ufa. Tarehe 12 msafara wa Kitweke FM utapitia maeneo ya Mosoriot, Chepterit, Himaki, Namgoi, Kapsabet, Kaptumo na kisha tumalizie Nandi Hills. Tarehe 13 msafara wetu utaanzia Kipsitet, Kapsoita, Sosiota, Kabianga, Litein, Kapkatet, Kericho na kisha tumalizie Bruka. Tarehe 14 watangazaji wa Kitwek kuabudu pamoja na waumini wa kanisa la Voice of Gospel Church lililoko Ngoina Road. Njoo ukutane na wanahabari na waenzi wa Kitwek FM wakiwemo Peter Cheruiyot aka Semason, Joan Beth, Winnie Cherono, Enoch Ngetich aka Mr. Wadis na wengine wengi. Kitwek FM, Kigasin.
Unavuka mipaka, umekwenda kinyume cha sheria.
Hiyo usifikirie wanitisha.
Unajua unaweza kuwazubaisha hao wengine manake hawakujui, lakini mimi mamako, mimi ndio nilikuzaa na kujua ndani na nje.
Lazima nitoke sasa hivi, nisipotoka sitaweza kutoka tena.
Stay away from my wife. Kama unataka kujua about Kate, hao wanatoka kwa Dingo, umesikia?
Sitaki uje hapa tena na sitaki uwe kunipigia simu. Kwa heri.
Maya.
All right, welcome back. You're right in time for The Viewpoint, and we want to talk about matters industrialization, trade, and enterprise. We all know that without industrialization, trade, and all that, our country basically will come to a halt. All right, so today we want to focus basically on that and what you should know. We faced a very tough moment in the last 19 months. The country actually had a very slow pace in terms of industrialization, trade, tourism, and all those things put together. But then things are starting to look up pretty well. And the gentleman who is going to help me to understand this better, and even you, is one and only David Osiany, who is the CAS, the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Office and Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, here in studio with us. Karibu sana.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to be here.
It's good to be here.
I'm absolutely delighted to come and have this conversation on industrialization.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
One thing people do not understand and people do not know perhaps is that you're also a journalist.
Oh, yes. Once a journalist, forever journalist. I was a radio presenter.
Yes.
For a couple of years. Yes.
I mean, is my job under threat right now, Director?
No.
Who is going to interview who now? Because I repeat, interviewing your fellow journalists is the hardest thing.
No. Yeah? I will take my rightful place.
Thank you.
Yes, Miss Manyara would kill me if I started to pretend to be the...
Regina, take note.
Regina is likely to kick me out, but I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You've been in office for 10 months now.
Yes.
How is it?
It's an honor to serve my country. It's a delightful honor.
Mm-hmm.
It's even twice an honor to be at the front seat of policy formulation.
Yes.
Agenda setting for the nation. To see firsthand, in depth, the challenges that truly face us from a macro perspective. And I am glad to have been offered this opportunity by the president.
Yes.
As a young person, to be involved in trying to create solutions for a sector that is targeted, quite succinctly targeted at the young people.
Yeah.
So it's been 10 months now, 10 months in which we have done a remarkable job together with my colleagues at the ministry, led by our leader, Miss Betty Minor.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't ask for anything else. I think this is my passion and calling.
Yes. When you look at where we are currently, we faced a very tough moment because of COVID, and it was a universal problem.
Yeah.
Where are we in terms of our rating? Since then, is everything looking up pretty well right now?
I mean, COVID has been a challenging time.
Yeah.
Not only for us as a country, but for the world over. During COVID, we had a very tough time.
Yeah.
Some of our industries were very hard beaten. The tourism sector, the hospitality sector, and trade generally, and enterprises were a bit shaken.
Yeah.
Jobs were lost. We probably lost over 2 million jobs during that time. Not as crazy as some countries, but still quite huge.
Yeah.
The industrialization sector, our manufacturing sector was, suffered a proper brunt of the pandemic. It's been challenging, and even more challenging for leaders like us when the nation looks up to you for solutions, and you can only solve so much because you know, the situation was unforeseen, and therefore, because it was unforeseen, and we are a country that had never suffered a pandemic before. Our neighboring Uganda suffered the SARS pandemic, so they were probably better prepared for it.
In fact, Uganda's schools are still closed to date.
Yes, because of that history. But I think we have been able to ace it. We are back on our feet. Our vaccination program continues rolling. Upwards of 6 million people now being vaccinated. We are asking as many as possible to ensure that they go for their second jabs. The Ministry of Health has done a remarkable job. We at the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development have been trying to ensure that our businesses get back on their feet. The President, in creating cushioning frameworks during the COVID pandemic, was able to assist as many businesses as possible with adjustment of duty and tax here and there. You know, the creation of the Credit Guarantee Fund that I hope that will be able to support as many businesses as possible. And things are looking up. I am not a pessimist. As I have always said, I'm an Afro-optimist.
You have to.
I'm an Afro-optimist. A believer that Africa can still conquer the world. You know, a believer that because we are the bread basket of the world, we deserve to lead the world. And this pandemic shocked us, shook us up, but we will shake off the shrapnel and get back on our feet.
When you talk about Africa being the breadbasket of the entire universe, so to speak, Kenya is strategically placed. When you look at East Africa in general, Kenya is like the head boy, where each and every nation come for benchmarking and see what we are able to produce and give to the society out there. Do we have hope as a nation?
You know, we didn't get there by chance. We literally got there by grit and hard work. We were purposive in our forays as we climbed to be the East and Central African leaders. Kenya has played a pivotal role in this region. It is the basis for the tranquility and peace in the, you know, in the Horn of Africa region. Kenya is the home to some of the leading UN agencies globally. And their global headquarters, not regional, but global headquarters, the United Nations Environment Program sits here. The UN Habitat sits here. It is because they have given us a vote of confidence in our ability and capability. Now, whereas we have enjoyed that, we have in recent past had now threats coming to try and threaten the position of Kenya as an industrial leader in the region. Well, nations are working hard, but we are not sleeping. So we you know, to be threatened or not threatened is neither here nor there. We would be threatened if we sat down and did nothing about our future. But with a constant innovation and an attempt to achieve our future, with the Big Four agenda, which is a legacy project for the president, giving a roadmap for when we need to go, with our, you know, belief that our Vision 2030 is still a vision we can achieve, I'm not too sure they'll catch up with us. But yes, countries have worked hard. Our neighboring Rwanda has worked really hard. Tanzania, with President Samia Suluhu taking over from John Pombe Magufuli, is trying to work hard. Everyone is trying to show investors and industrialists that we have the best package for you. But I do not think any of them has the combination that suits investors, which is political, economic stability, you know, and just a general business environment. We are currently in the region the best in our ease of doing business ranking globally. We did not just get there, and we've constantly improved.
We need to maintain that tempo.
We have to. We don't have a choice, because should we, then all these other nations are opening up. Ethiopia was right at our back, trying to really eclipse us from that position. They have suffered an unfortunate misfortune with the instability in the country, praying that they will be able to get over that. But yeah, we are still solidly ahead of the pack in the EAC region, but we cannot rest there, because it is not enough. to be the leaders in Eastern Central Africa.
Because competitors are also behind us.
We should be competing to get South Africa, Nigeria, and Egypt out of where they are ahead of us. So we cannot sit and say, you know, and that is why we have keenly, as a ministry, focused on the manufacturing sector. What is it we are able to do to create opportunities for investors to come into the country and for our local investors to invest in the country, thereby creating jobs, improving our economic standing, and improving our GDP status, hence getting us to the top rank of the world and moving us to a middle income economy.
Mheshimiwa, the only thing that most people will talk about is Kenya is run by agriculture, SMEs, the backbone of our, our day-to-day lives. And we export a lot. Talk of pyrethrum, talk of coffee, talk of tea, talk of all those things we can talk about, and we also get a lot even from the tourists. We'll talk about tourism later on. But then, what is that thing that you can assure the SMEs? Because the country is now opening up slowly, and perhaps what is your target that at some point things will now start to stabilize, then you can now say, it's way back 2 years ago where we were. What is your vision? What is your mind where you sit and see Kenya is going to stabilize? At what point?
It is very hard to tell. So first, I think we are stable.
We are.
I need us to understand that we are stable. All factors held constant. We have suffered a huge challenge with COVID, and the pandemic has been very harsh to businesses, very harsh to our traders, twice as harsh to the micro, small, and medium enterprises. But we are stable, and we shouldn't take that for granted. But what I hope is that the SMEs will appreciate the various things and the various initiatives that have been taken by government to support them. The Micro, Small, and Enterprise Authority, for example, MSER, is not known to many people. The Micro and Small Enterprise Authority is a parastatal that is dedicated entirely to support our SMEs, to support them by resources, to support them by giving them business advice with business advisory services, to support them by ensuring that they adhere to the set rules and which will enable them enjoy the preferential treatment that we find under AGPO, the access to government procurement opportunities, and many of that. We have the Kenya Industrial Estates, which is distributed nationwide. The Kenya Industrial Estates was an organization formed with a vision to support the various SMEs that are in industrialization as a sector, to help them financially, give them loans to the tune of 20 million shillings to be able to stabilize, to purchase equipment on their behalf, and support our SMEs. A lot of SMEs do not know this. It makes sense to me, having sat on this end of the spectrum, why the Bible would say, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Because knowledge is everything. Having realized that this is a huge challenge, the knowledge gap is so far and so huge, I started an initiative called Ashara Tuesdays. Where, from 10 to midday every Tuesday on my Facebook page, I call the CEOs of our parastatals and various actors in the industrialization and trade space, and ask them, what is it we are doing as a ministry to support our traders? Because a lot of people don't know. These initiatives exist, but they don't know. We have the Kenya Industrial Enterprise Project. They don't know. We have the Kenya Youth Employment Opportunity Project. Many people don't know.
That is
so there are all these initiatives that have been put in place to support our SMEs. You talk about Kirdi, because we are exporting. But for me, I think we will have achieved the day we export 70 of our products as manufactured products, not in their primary status. Kirdi is an organization that is targeted at SMEs to support them in value addition. That if you have a whole 200 sacks of peanut, or groundnuts as others call it, and you go to Kirdi, they will tell you this is how you dry them, this is how you roast them, this is how you package them. And working together with Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, which is under our ministry, alongside KIE, they're able to finance, they're able to help you with getting the standardization mark, value addition. Then you will realize that every material sold in its raw product or as a primary product, like groundnuts, if you sell a kilo of groundnuts today for, let's say, 100 shillings, compared to if you sold that same kilo as a value-added product, you will make more than 400% profit.
But are people much aware about this?
I mean, we have tried, and we are doing even now, which is why we are taking time to inform those who are hearing. Go to Kirdi, Kenya Industrial Research Development Institute, search it. We are building a state-of-the-art complex in South C, in South B, in industrial area really, so that we can host as many SMEs as possible in manufacturing. We have people who do honey from our Kirdi centers across the country. We offer you space to do this. The Kenya Industrial Estates does shades and gives them to various business people. If you want to have a bakery, they're going to give you a space that already has three-phase electricity, that already has water. The infrastructure is existing. The Micro Small Enterprise Authority has built shades everywhere. I was in Peketoni the other day, the home to the second largest Juakali sector after Kisumu's Juakali. Mpeketoni is reputed for its famed Lamu doors. And I can tell you, I have seen and know the cost of Lamu doors in Nairobi. But because people wouldn't know where to source them from, watagongwa hapa town. Watagongwa. Hii ni Kanairo mzee. So those are some of the things we also try to inform them. But we have put in place a support framework to be able to assist our SMEs to bounce back. All they need to do is to plug into this framework. Because without knowledge, they wouldn't know how to plug in. If you don't know that you can gather yourselves as a couple of businesses and register with the registrar of MSCs to then get support of government in various initiatives, then you will continue crying and saying, what do we do? But here it is. Here is our opportunity. The thing is, we are also unable to take the space on KBC, for example, every morning, because someone in mining wants to come and tell Kenyans about mining. Another one wants to come and tell Kenyans about tourism and opportunities therein. We need to get literacy programs for them from Treasury to know what are bonds, why do I buy a Treasury bond, does it assist me in any way? And so the opportunities for elucidating on some of these things may be rare, but as much as is possible, we have tried to recount them. I have transformed my social media pages into pages of information, purely. Every time I go anywhere, I try to tell those who follow, they're not very many, just shy of 100,000, this is what we are doing, this is why it's important. Go to this website and find the rest of information. I'll have done my part.
Waziri, for the last 10 months you've been in office and you've traveled far and wide. When you look at Kenya and other nations, when you look at the active age group, the youth, the Juakali sector, talk of industrialization, talk of tourism and hospitality sector, when you look at Kenya and you compare with other brothers and sisters across the globe, what do you see?
I see hope. I see hope. I see hope if we stick to the script. If we believe that the Big Four agenda, for example, of Vision 2030 is a roadmap to attaining our middle income status, I see hope. I'm praying that any political dispensation that takes over the country is able to stick to that script. Because if you go to Singapore, where Lee Kuan Yew set the foundation of the country, all the presidents who followed Lee Kuan Yew just built up on the original script. And that's why the tragedy for Africa is to end up having political leaders who come and want to outdo everything their predecessors have done and start afresh. Attaining or meeting some of these high-minded affairs or initiatives then becomes a challenge. All of them stall. And yet the truth is there's power in continuity. It's like building a house. I have built a couple of houses. I know that when you're at the foundation, it looks muddy, murky. You can be pessimistic.
You can even lose hope.
You can give up and say, man, it's not leaving the ground. Because the ground, the foundation is the basis for growth for everything. If you don't do a good job at the foundation and give the pillars that are right, then that house is going to come down like the famed houses we've seen not too far ago in Kangemi. Because there was not enough investment in the foundation. I think President Uhuru Kenyatta has invested in the foundation. We may not entirely see and appreciate how much work has gone in there. We will appreciate
at some point,
gone. My plea would be that should we want to emulate countries that are ahead of us, like Egypt or the United Arab Emirates, where things are working and are functional, let's stick to the script relentlessly.
Allow me
so
to
I
ask
see
you,
hope.
There is hope. Allow me to ask you this. The SMEs, the fund, when you talk of the youth, because the bigger margin is 70% of the population is the youth. And each and every government will always have to bank on the youth currently. And the president is quite passionate about the youth, to empower them, to make sure that they don't just sit there. But make me understand, how is your ministry trying to get these active heads together so that they become productive today, tomorrow, and even years to come?
Each and every government, as I said, will always speak about the youth, but this is the only government that for the first time, under my watch and the steady leadership of Madam Betty Maina, we have been able to finally come up with an MSc policy. It has never existed in the country. It's always been said, this is what we're going to do. For the first time, Kenya as a country, as a micro and small enterprise policy, as a guiding principle or as a general guidance for involving the traders in this sector. Majority of whom are young people. All right? Now, our young people today are constantly seeking opportunities for engagement. And that is why I make a case for manufacturing. That if we are going to create sufficient jobs for our people, then we must think manufacturing. And when I talk about manufacturing, I'm not talking about having, this massive plant in 100 acres that does. No.
Start small.
I'm talking about the businessman who is able to access 5 million shillings. Starting a small industry that does juice, or does that one that does peanuts, or starting a bakery. Because this is how countries like Asia, the Asian countries like China, India, and the rest have grown. They have grown on the back of industrialization. Cognizant of the fact that artificial intelligence is going to come as a disruptor.
And to cut all this away.
And which is why there needs to be a deliberate investment in our young people in terms of their skill sets that can complement the digitalization that's going to take over the world. Regina just said, as she was leaving the set, I heard her say that, it is said that the fourth industrial revolution will be led by the digital space, will be an ICT-led revolution. All right. It informs why the initiative to have laptops in our schools was started, albeit with the challenges that it accrued. But that focus is very important. Innovation in this country, we have the Kenya Innovation Week, I think, coming up in December, where I'll be speaking at. It would be important for Kenyans to come and see, or log in if it's hybrid, like we will have the Africa Industrialization Week, what it is that we need to do to prepare for the industrial revolution that will be disrupted by ICT. And so our young people, we need to get into manufacturing wholly. The government and the ministry has two programs that have necessitated the growth of industrialization and investment. Number one is the Export Processing Zone program.
The EPZs.
The EPZs. The EPZs have been here with us for about 30 years. The EPZs were created, the program was created to attract investors who want to access international markets, but from Kenya. So what we said is we have this program, we have these incentives, we have, tax incentives and all these other incentives for you as an investor to come and work from Kenya, create employment to our people. But while you're creating employment to our young people, have a very important component called skills transfer.
Yeah.
Because as they work, to the locals, as they work, they're able to learn about how these sophisticated machines are operating. And that's how you end up with one of them leaving to go and start. He's a small one in Lamu, or a small one in Embu, or another tiny one in Rongo or Kokal, wherever it is. All right. The next one is the Special Economic Zones program. Now, EPZ program is export facing. Essentially, what you mean is, if you're coming to set up in our EPZ, you can only offload 20% of your production, of your products, into the local market. And the local market here is East Africa community. It's no longer Kenya.
Waziri, you're a journalist, and so when I say let's take a break, you'll understand what I mean.
Well, I understand. I understand what you mean. We will take a break. Okay, fine, fair enough.
Fair enough. We are talking about industrialization. We are talking about export. You're talking about business. Today is Business 101. Let's take a break. When we come back, we have Waziri here, David Ocean, talking to us. We'll be right back.
Unavuka mipaka, umekwenda kinyume cha sheria.
Hiyo usifikirie wanitisha.
Unajua unaweza kuwazubaisha hao wengine manake hawakujui, lakini mimi mamako, mimi ndo nilikuzaa na kujua ndani na nje.
Lazima nitoke sasa hivi, nisipotoka sitaweza kutoka tena.
Stay away from my wife. Kama unataka kujua about Kate, haunataka kwa dingo, umesikia?
Sitaki uje hapa tena na sitaki uwe kunipigia simu. Kwa heri.
Maya.
You've got no idea what kind of trouble you're getting into, veterinarian. But I will not allow you to upset Diana. Is that clear?
What are you doing in my house?
Daddy, please just calm down. Just make sure that this turns out well. Are you two plotting something?
Abantu ba Mintombo Yamole.
Your favorite Ekegusi station, Minto FM, is now at your doorstep. Enjoy the hottest KC music, informative and entertaining shows, and reliable news only on Minto FM. Tune in to Minto FM on 91.7 FM in Nyamira, Kisii, and its environs. Minto FM,
Welcome back, and we're still having our discussion with the CS here, David Osiany, under the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development. We are having to understand what you really need to know. I mean, we had our fair share, and all of us, together we shall rise. And with his word, he said, we have hope as a nation. Do we have hope? Do you? Let's continue the discussion.
Yeah.
All right. So, Waziri, there is a function coming up next week.
Yes.
Africa Industrialization Week.
Good.
And Kenya is one of the participants in this kind of function. How important is it for us as a nation?
It is a very important week for us ahead of the Africa Industrialization Day that is on 20th next month. A very important week for Kenyans and for Africa to focus on industrialization, to realign their political intention to the industrialization agenda, to stick to the script as was agreed more than 30 years ago at the AU, you know, to ensure that all our countries have this week that helps us to remind ourselves of our commitment to industrializing Africa and moving Africa ahead. And which is why I was talking about the EPZ in Kenya, for example, the EPZ and Special Economic Zone Program. The Special Economic Zone Program, as you're aware or may have seen, you know, we have 10 special economic zones in Kenya. 3 of them are public. That is Ndongo Kundu in Mombasa. There is Naivasha, Special Economic Zone in Nakuru County. Then there is Konza Technopolis. People don't even know that it's a special economic zone.
It is.
Which focuses on technology, on innovation. In Kisumu, we are going to come up with the 4th special economic zone in Miwani, which is at advanced stages. In fact, not too long ago, last week, I hosted the anchor investors who we have invited into the country to help us, you know, get into Miwani and start industrialization and manufacturing there. And they've had meetings with the PPP unit, head by a very nice guy, Christopher, who has done a great job as Director General, young, suave, sleek, good at what he does. I love it when my fellow young people are doing something good so that we are not insulted and told young people were given opportunities but they did nothing for it. And so the Special Economic Zone Program allows investors to come into the country and set up in our Special Economic Zones, and they can sell both locally and internationally, unlike EPZ where you can only sell 20% locally. However, the Africa Industrialization Week is going to be taking place in Laikipia County, in Nanyuki. Nanyuki is going to play host to us with the involvement of the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, as well as the AU, playing a very pivotal role. We will be gathering in Nanyuki, where more than 200 companies, manufacturing companies, are going to be showcasing their art, are going to be telling Kenyans what they're going to be doing to move to the next level. It is impeccable.
It sounds like a big deal.
No, it is a big deal, of course. Listen, Victor. Most of our towns in Kenya owe their industrialization and development, or their growth, or only morphed into towns because of industrialization. Case in point, Kitengela. Kitengela was born out of the EPZ's existence in that place, with an employment workforce of about 10 to 15,000 in the EPZ. The people who work in the EPZ needed housing. So people had to build houses in Kitengela. Their children needed schools. So schools had to be built in Kitengela.
Hospitals.
Their children and themselves, they needed healthcare. That had to be built. They needed the good roads. That is why Kitengela has become Kitengela. Now, Kenya's fastest growing urban area, Kitengela. Actually, go to a place called Awendo, next to where I come from, and Rongo, who both owe their existence to the Sony Sugar Company.
Actually, you can drive there for like around 10, 15, 20 minutes before you reach at the factory itself.
Good. You know, so you look at the towns that have had the misfortune of becoming ghost towns. Webuye only became ghost towns because an industry died. And that's why I think the president has taken this as a very important calling for himself, to try and promote as many manufacturers as possible so that we absorb a lot of employees, number one, but also the net effect then is that we will create other towns. Remember, when you speak about special economic zone, the whole of Singapore is a special economic zone. Started as a small special economic zone and grew wider and wider.
Where did we leave the mark?
Dubai, which is a sultanate of the United Arab Emirates, and the fastest growing, is a hub, logistical hub for the world and financial center for the world, with the Jebel Al free area being the landmark, the tweaking effect that made Dubai what it is. And so industrialization has a very, very important place in our development as a society. So we want to gather in Nanyuki and showcase, and I'm inviting all the people listening to us, come and see what happens there, if for nothing else, just so that you could try and attempt your own.
And learn something out of that.
Learn. Look at the opportunities that exist. You will come and learn that we may be selling cashew nuts, but so much cashew nuts are still needed. The market is huge. You can't even meet the local market. Come and see what happens to bananas, how they need to be done and packaged. The Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, which I lead, is among, part of the work we've done is to set up green cold storages, Kisii, Nyahururu, Meru, so that farmers can be able to stash as much of their products as possible and give them a lengthier shelf life to be able to export. But come and learn what it is when we speak about value addition.
When you look at some of the young industries, the sector players, most of them are youth. The innovation, the creativity, and the talent which is out there. Are we likely to see? What keeps you awake at night when you look at the young generation trying to get their hands dirty and make it out there and get their hands onto some of these things perceived to be for who and who out there, but they're still pushing on and they want to make a mark?
What keeps me awake is the possibility of achieving that dream. It keeps me awake. How am I going to play my role in ensuring that the young people who are working so hard, who have decided that they will not get into wash or they will not get into this unscrupulous businesses,
quick money,
get to the top? How is it that they're going to be able to access affordable capital and funding for their businesses? You know, how is it that we are not going to let our bad credit culture hamper on the good people who are dirtying their hands? Because tragically, when we had the youth fund, for example, the youth fund was given to businesses, but people did not return that money. How is it that we are going to be able to embed in our young people the desire to be able to understand that when they take a loan, it is money given to them so that they can use it to grow, return it so that someone else grows.
Exactly.
You know, that keeps me awake at night. How are we able to hit this very useful nexus of growth for our young people, creating opportunities for them, creating employment? How are we going to be able to circumvent the inevitable place of artificial intelligence and digitalization and how that will impact on our jobs and job losses? Because soon, you know, if you go to the Dubai airport, for example, you go there, unlike Nairobi, where, you know, you have all these people constantly saying, load it here, luggage. You go, you scan your passport. It tells you, put your bag here. It's all machine. You don't even talk to anyone. Load it. It's success. There is a pay point next to you. You just insert your card to the PDQ machine. You pay for the extra amount. It is moved to the conveyor belt. How many jobs have been lost at the Dubai airport because of that? Numerous. And that's the reality. That's where we are going. We cannot run away from it forever. So it keeps me awake to ask myself, how are we going to be able to realize a particular skill set that cannot be replaced by this? You know, the skills of the heart. Because a machine cannot nurse a patient.
No. Not for too long.
Yet the machine needs engineers also to be able to fix it when it drops.
When you talk about the function coming up next week, the Industrialization Week, how can one access that particular area? And one, registration, is it open for all? Yes.
Yes, Industrialization Week in Nanyuki. So everyone is invited.
Yes.
You can come. We are not going to restrict the numbers. We will just ensure that we observe the COVID protocols, wash your hands, have your mask on. It should be possible to access it. You can go to our website, www.industrialization.go.ke, and access as much information as you want, or www.trade.go.ke. And also our Twitter handles, IndustryKE, at IndustryKE or at trade_Kenya. And ask as many questions as you want, drop us messages. You can read as much as possible on our Africa Industrialization Week coming up in Nanyuki on those platforms.
Waziri, the sugar industry is suffering, and it's under your docket. Nzoia Sugar has just received 500 million shillings as a cash bailout. What about the rest of Miwani, the Kibos Sugar? We talk of the Mumias sugar industry, the Wendo, and even the farmers who are not able to sell their cane to the factory themselves.
You know, when you talk about sugar industry, I am a product of the sugar industry. My father retired from Sony Sugar. I was brought up in Sony. I did not grow up in the UK or in America or anywhere else. I grew up in the village. I grew up as a product of an industry. That's why for me it was a blessing for the president to appoint me here, because I wanted to do as much as is possible, add value, work together with my colleagues, and ensure that we move our country forward. Yes, the president has realized that the sugar sector, just as all other industrial sectors, has been hard beat, mostly by governance issues, which are now being only amended when it's gone too far. But I think we have incredible teams. I have met most of the CEOs who run these factories. You know, they are visionary. They know the task ahead is daunting. The president in his speech dedicated 1.5 billion Kenya shillings for a bailout of the sugar industry. So Nzoia has gotten its share. Sony, Chemelil, I served on the board of Chemelil Sugar as a director. Chemelil, Muhoroni, and all those are going to find their fair share in due course. I think it is just an appreciation of how far deep we are, especially based on the fact that the industry was already having problems before, and COVID only came to exacerbate these problems. And so this commitment by the president is a great one. I am only hoping and praying that the visionary leaders that lead the sugar industries now will realize that should those industries die, then we are going to end up with ghost towns and ghost cities, jobless people, highly skilled yet jobless. That's how we get into crime.
Waziri, when you talk about sugar industry, most people are still saying that, we have got unscrupulous businessmen importing sugar from our neighboring countries. Are you going to stop this as a ministry? As a ministry,
we, in my ministry, there is the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, which works day and night together with Kenya Bureau of Standards, KRA. It's a multi-agency team to deal with anti-counterfeit goods in the country. We realize that if you bring in, for example, industrial sugar, one, you are risking the lives of Kenyans, all right? But secondly, you are also just killing the local industry. So we have tried to create a fair playing ground. That multi-agency team that is led by the PS for Interior, Karanja Kibisho, and at the ministerial level by the CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, alongside my minister and the Kuriatani, has done as much as is possible to try and curb this menace. I wouldn't say we may have entirely curbed it, but I would say comfortably we have significantly curbed it. We hope that we will get to a point where, and this is why I call Kenyans to be each other's keeper, because we rely on the Kenyans of goodwill who understand what this is doing to us as a country, to be able to inform government, hey, listen, I know so-and-so who's been able to do this, and tip off the country. We have a system that allows people to tip us off, anonymously. So that it helps us to narrow down, investigate, and working together with the intelligence groups, get down to these unscrupulous business people and net them and charge them. So we have had a significant reduction after the initiative that was led by CS Fred Matiang'i and the multi-agency team. Granted, there are some unscrupulous people who will find their way around, but I think by and large, we've had them dealt with.
Most of the time they've been caught, large containers netted at the port of Mombasa, ferrying sugar from overseas. But that one, as it may, at some point this must end, and businessmen and the sugar, you come from the sugar belt, most of the farmers are saying that their sugar cane are not reaching the factories.
The challenge that has been with that is that because the factories have been struggling, they've been lean on equipment and machinery, they've been unable to therefore service their tractors, they've been unable to pay the contractors, the transport contractors. So you have a combination of the weather issues. So you find a farmer has a farm which is inaccessible because the roads are horrible. The roads used to be maintained as CSR by these sugar factories. They are unable to do that maintenance now. It makes it a whole challenge. And so I understand the pain of the farmer when they say they are unable to have their cane harvested in time. Not because the factories don't want to harvest, but because the factories have themselves been struggling, getting by and eventually just having to harvest from their nucleus estates and in selected areas that have proper infrastructure that enable them to go in. Because if a loader breaks down, the factory doesn't have money to service the loader. You have contractors who provide tractors or trucks that should move the cane. They have not been paid for so long. They go on strike, so they can't transport. It's a net effect. So we hope that this boost that the government has given the sugar factories will be able to assist them to get back on their feet.
I have a question here. What is the ministry doing to support SMEs, more so with the special focus on how to expound the Kariobangi manufacturing hub?
The Kariobangi Manufacturing Hub is home now to our Micro and Small Enterprise Authority. MSEA has actually taken over that as a Biashara Center. The ministry has created what we know as Biashara Centers. There are 4 Biashara Centers across the country. The Biashara Center principle was anchored on the same principle that runs the Huduma Center, only that this is a Huduma Center for businesses. Biashara centers, we have one in Kisumu at the Kirdi offices. We have one in Eldoret, in our KEBS office in Eldoret. We have another one in Mombasa, in our KEBS office in Mombasa. But the first and the biggest is the one we have at Kariobangi. We've actually made it into a Biashara center where you can go in and find all our 18 parastatals seated and waiting to assist you. You can ask all the questions and get them. Be that as it may, there has been very huge investment in equipment at our Biashara center in Kariobangi. We have put lathe machines for our people. We have created structures for them to be able to use and rented them out affordably. There's been so much support and resources getting into the Kariobangi Manufacturing Center, which is now known as our Biashara, Nairobi Biashara Center.
Another question is that how many SMEs have gone through it?
Wow. I wouldn't have the number of SMEs that have gone through it often because Kariobangi Center has been there for ages. But I would tell you, no less than 500. There have been many. Some have been there for long. Some have utilized that center as a point for growth. So that then after creating a stable foundation, they grew out into the market, ventured there, created their own, built their own factories, moved on. But we have had a whole journey. Remember, we even have the Kenya Industrial Estates. Spectra International came from the KIE. What you see today as Serena and the Sarova groups came from our Industrial Development Bank. What is known as Chris Kirubi's, what is it called?
The Centum?
Not Centum, the factory that does the oils and stuff. Hako.
Right.
Hako came from Kenya Industrial Estates, from the Ministry of Industrialization. So many have come from there. Many are growing out to venture and become bigger.
And lastly, still on the question side, what is the capacity and there any plans to expand it to other counties apart from Nairobi, maybe Mombasa, Kisumu and the rest?
We have plans to expand the Biashara centers to all counties. Preliminarily, we hope that we will be able to get to 10 counties first. But we don't even want to go to those 10 counties until we have ensured that the 4 counties where we have established them are functioning and working properly. We hope that we will get as many people, we will have footfall and traffic into these Biashara centers and be able to assist them. Because then, if we do not have as many people inquiring and getting assistance in our Biashara centers, how are we able to expand? What would be the rationale for that expansion? So I hope that we make use of this, because there are focal points distributed across country, reachable for most people, and see how they can be of help to us before we move to the rest of the counties.
And lastly, another question from a viewer asking, ask Waziri, what is the impact Kirdi has had on industrialization?
Kirdi has had probably the most immense impact in terms of value addition for industrialization. We have had small factories not too long ago. I mean, on 5th of November, my mother Tabitha Osiani was having her birthday. I remember I had to order her cake from a young lady who runs a bakery called Modesh Bakeries in Kisumu. I met her because she was an incubatee of Kirdi, moved from being assisted to building her own bakery, in Migosi. And that now employs about 6 people. And on the side, she's a trainer. So this is the kind of stories that you will never know. There are people who even do leather. If you go to Kirdi, and there's Kirdi in Bungoma, Eldoret, Nairobi, Kisumu, all these. But are our people utilizing them? We have a Kirdi office in Migori that we hope to equip pretty soon to grow it even bigger. You know, because I believe charity begins at home. Are we able to take advantage of this? Because Kirdi has trainers for you. It has the assistance of very skilled, technicians to help you learn the ropes. And at Kirdi, there is also KEBS to support you. They're called the 3 Ks. KIE to give you the funding, KEBS to give you standardization, Kirdi to teach you on value addition. And so Kirdi has been hugely pivotal. The story of Modesh Bakeries is just one of the many stories that Kirdi is proud of.
Waziri, allow me to ask you this. You appointed the ministry as a young Kenyan.
Yes.
When you walk out there and you meet your peers, the young Kenyans who are optimistic, going about their business, what do you see in their faces?
Whenever I encounter optimism from our young Kenyans, I see in their faces agility. And I am just a representative of many, maybe not the most deserving of all. But that agility must not be robbed from them. I see and I recognize the weight that I have to be able to make that agility in their faces stay longer and translate into not mere agility but achievement. I just hope that I'm able to do my small part in this short time. As I have said, I'm a sunset appointee. Appointed at 5 p.m. just before 7 p.m. And we have to do what there is to be done in that sunset moment. And I believe I am doing the best I can. By initiatives like Ashara Tuesdays and many other initiatives, utilizing all these spaces, mainstream media, social media spaces to inform our young people, pushing for them from within and bringing the youth perspective into ministerial management, I think we will have done our part. But most importantly, I want that agility to become achievement. When it becomes achievement, I'll be a happy person. And I hope that I've been able to leave, I will be able to have left my mark when my time is up.
As we come to a close, Waziri, the last question I would like to ask you, what is a projection for the country moving forward now that everything is now opening slowly? And we hope that soon we'll be there.
The president in the Big Four agenda intended that the manufacturing sector will contribute not only the 7.5% into GDP that it does today, but that we will have doubled that to 15% by 2022. There could be a challenge with getting there because COVID has robbed us of 19 months of being able to impact that way. But if we can be able to get from 7.5% to 10 or 11%, that'd be great. I know my projection is that Kenya will roar back to its proper self, hoping we get to become a 24-hour economy, because I can see the restlessness in our young people, positive restlessness, desire to make things work, the innovation in our young people that's locked up in them. That potential must be utilized for the growth of our country. And what better person to do it than us together? We will do it as a ministry. We do it as citizens. We will move together.
And finally, on the Africa Industrialization Week, probably you can give us the last bit on where, date, time, and who should come, just an overview, and how we can start this moving next week.
The Africa Industrialization Week will be running from the 12th to 19th, 13th to 20th.
Yes.
It will be... it will be in Laikipia County, Nanyuki. We will be there the whole of next week. 200 companies are going to be based there. We hope that you will join us. And I really hope to see you there. I will be officiating the Africa Industrialization Week there. I hope to interact with you. I hope to interact with our young people trying to set up industries, to have a chat with you. You know, I'm the commonest of the ministers you will find around, so I just want to have a chat sometimes. Come, let's have a chat, ask questions, find out, let's grow together, let's go forward together.
Absolutely. We've had a very good discussion. He's called himself Sunset Appointee, a new one. How you interpret that is all up to you, but that has come from him, Sunset Appointee. But Waziri, thank you so much for gracing our show today. I hope you have learned something, and by the way, make sure that you go down there in Nanyuki. It's an amazing place. Like the other day we had a conversation with the governor. He said that go to Nanyuki and you'll experience something that you've never experienced in any part of the country. All right? And by the way, he's my church chorister.
We will not even start that.
Not even start that. It's
only Jane will be allowed to do that.
On Saturdays, if you want to know where to find him.
I go to Lavington SDA Church.
My church chorister.
I love the Lord.
Oh, yes.
I love music too.
So we do.
I love what I do.
Waziri, thank you so much.
God bless
we've
you.
had our Waziri, that is David Osianyu, is the CAS in the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development. We've been talking about matters to do with the trade, industry, and how as a nation we can get on our feet once again. Hatujaenda mbali sana, but we'll make it there. Thank you so much for your time. That is all we have time for. On behalf of everyone, have a fantastic day and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome back. Just before we get to wrap up the entire program, a quick look on how the roads are looking like this morning. 4 minutes past the top of the hour, that's 4 minutes past 9 a.m. and we just want to look at quickly how Muthaiga Square is looking like, given the fact that we still know that the bus rapid transit system is clearly taking shape along that route. There is that, and we also have that same kind of form of system will be taking place, shape also along Gong Road as well as Outer Ring Road. These are just some of those roads that have been identified as to where the BRT will be taking shape. So this morning, we just want to quickly look at how the stretch is looking like, given the fact that there has been a lot of activities, especially along Thika Super Highway. This is also in regards to that, to the various footbridges that have also been installed in addition to the already 18 existing ones. And this was just reduce traffic flow as well as reduce number of death cases, especially along this route. Now, because of how busy Thika Super Highway is, and this again what necessitated that expansion to making it a highway, or better still an 8-lane road. This is also part of the reason as to why it has become the first road where the bus rapid transit system is taking shape, and this is why you have seen some sections of this route just being closed or demarcated for the purpose of this BRT. So quickly on the traffic flow along this stretch, the same as just how it was earlier on, heavy kind of traffic on the stretch as you come to the city center, and specifically also just around that Muthaiga Square there, also, clearly also one of those busy areas, which ultimately just makes Thika Superhighway again one of those busy roads. And this is because of the number of the kind of businesses there, both large scale as well as medium scale and even small scale. The number of schools, quite a number of them along this particular stretch. The road also serves those that come from this particular area and also beyond. You know, that is from the outskirts of Nairobi, counties such as Kiambu, Murang'a, Meru, Embu, all the likes there. So clearly making it one of those busy roads. And this is why, again, oftentimes, especially in this early morning hour, you would spot the kind of traffic that, you know, we are spotting or we are seeing right now. The same just as how it was earlier on, especially on that stretch, or better still on that lane that is coming to the city center. Things are thick on that stretch, not moving at all, just at a standstill. On the other side, as you leave city center, still coming through Thika Superhighway via Muthaiga, moving at a very swift pace. This is why I was saying earlier on, especially for our viewers perhaps coming from Nairobi, or, you know, going to areas around Thika Road or even beyond, this is still again the best time for you to do that, because right now moving at a swift pace, no traffic at all. The same again being witnessed even past that same area as you head over to areas along Thika Superhighway. Again, one of those areas where you'd really expect to see heavy kind of traffic around Garden City. Still none of that, moving at a very swift pace. But also along this area is part of those areas that benefited from those 4 foot bridges that were being installed along Thika Superhighway. One was again also installed along Garden City Mall. So this is also why we're not seeing that heavy kind of traffic there. This is how it is looking like in terms of traffic this morning. We're just focusing on what has been happening along Thika Superhighway, specifically around the Muthaiga Square. And the major reason is because of that bus rapid transit system. So again, simply means that, of course, this particular route, and specifically also around that area, will be a key and a keen area of focus because of that kind of system taking shape there. Up until when it comes to a complete, the area opened up to the public, try to see how all this will impact and affect the traffic flow. But just at 8 minutes past 9 a.m., that is how it's looking like on the roads.
All right. Thank you for that, Doreen. And of course, earlier on, we had Victor with that very fantastic discussion right there, all about seeing where we're going as a country and what we need to do as a people to just come together and ensure this post-pandemic recovery process is as smooth as it can be. We thank you so much for interacting with us. Thank you so much to all those who have interacted with us both on our Twitter and Facebook platforms. Much love going out to Cynthia, who says, I am Cynthia Bahati from Kilifi, watching live and loving the show. Big up to you and your colleagues. Thank you for tuning in. We also have Asaim Z. Uyu anauliza, he's asking about the football war between Ray and Victor. Leo haikukuwa, I told you. Nijua kukuwa na game hiyo tungoje. But loving the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We also have Ngeno Kenneth. Thank you so much. I see Jimna Waweru, Son of the Soil, W. Anyona Marangeti. Thank you so much, Coach Frederick. Louis Kihumba. Thank you for being a viewer and supporting. Rob Orina. We also have Joe Chege, Stephen Mushoki, One I Talk. We also have Simon Ngeshi, Manasseh Daido, Joseph Birango, and Fred Michael. All those on Twitter. Let me quickly cross on over to Facebook. I see what's going over there. Remember, the hashtag on Twitter is Good Morning Kenya. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1 across the socials. That is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and our website is, of course, www.kbc.co. Up on Facebook, I see Wandwasi Nazarite Jr. Much love going out to you. Zakaria Mekubo, tuned in from Kisiland. Kiaria Freeman, where are the offices in Kilifi? I believe that is in line with the conversation that we had. I'm sure once we're able to get that communication, we shall be able to share with you. Kiare Freeman goes on to say, I have a small idea for manufacturing, but I have no capital. Do they assist someone to start from scratch? I do believe once you go to the website portal that Mheshimiwa did give out, you will be able to get all the guidance that you need, of course, from the ministry's website. And who is this? Okay, that is all we have had here on our Facebook. Thank you so much for interacting with us. We are sad that some of these questions are coming in after we have concluded that discussion, but we always appreciate them. We will be able to communicate them with Mheshimiwa, and from there on, he should be able to give guidance on the way forward. But for now, we want to call it a program. Thank you so much for staying with us. As always, we appreciate that you make time to be with us. This and every other day from Monday through to Thursday. And given tomorrow is Thursday, be sure to join us as we get to close the week right here on Good Morning Kenya. But for now, it is goodbye. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. My name is Jane Wamboy.
Most expansive landscape in the country, with a population of about 1 million people, according to the 2019 census report. The county boasts of breathtaking landscapes, with Great Plains hedged in by scenic hills, such as the Kabokorit, that we attempted scaling for a breathtaking view of Kakuma town at sunset. Turkana people have a special way of welcoming guests. Complete with melodic song and dance, the women carry the guests around their homestead as a sign of honor and friendship. The Turkana community is so hospitable that often a goat will be slaughtered in the village for the guests to feast on alongside their host. However, as you stroll in the towns or even in the rural areas, you'll notice something striking. Men holding a special stool, the ekicholong. It is a special multi-purpose for ensuring the comfort of its owner wherever he goes.
Hii nikifika mahali popote kama sasa tukikaa hapa hivi nyinyi mkiangaika mahali pa kukaa nyinyi mnakaa kwa kiti, so I'm much comfortable.
Ekicholong signifies the attainment of a certain status in society.
Sasa yule huyu kama hajafanywa ya asafan hata kalia kiti yangu, hata kama ni mkubwa zaidi yangu, kama mimi ni mdogo yake na nimefanywa asafan hata kalia kiti yangu.
Under a tree at Tarach village in Kakuma, we encountered these two elderly men napping away blissfully. At a closer look, we found they were resting their neck on the ekicholong. Ours is not to interrupt their afternoon relaxation. We are told they deal with conflict resolution and are awaiting any cases that may arise from this village on this day. At this point, the question lingering on our minds was, just how comfortable is this seat?
Inakaa tu mzuri. Kwa sababu unashimba paka akae mzuri, kapopile kikaa inakaa tu mzuri. Hauwezi kisikia mbaya.
Women are not allowed to sit on or even hold the ekicholong.
Hii ni tradition yetu ya Turkana. Hakuna mwanamke anaruhusiwa kushika hii kitu. Ni mwanaume tu peke yake. Sababu mwanamke huwezi kuja kukaa mbele yangu na hii kiti. Sitting arrangement yako kwanza hayataruhusu.
Mtoto kwanza mtoto atakani ama timu nyingine kama umeoa rasmi alafu timu nyingine yakalie mpaka afanye hiyo rituals. Lete mbuzi atakaze hiyo kiti.
Additionally, if you're not of the same age group through marriage or an initiation ceremony known as the asapan, you're not allowed to sit on another person's ekicholong. The Turkana community believes that such a breach is taboo and should never happen, but in case it happens, it can only be reversed through a special cleansing ritual.
Ndio sasa anatoa mbuzi, anaonga hiyo mbuzi, anatoa kinyesi, anasemea hapa juu. Hiyo inamaanisha kwa yeye alifunja amri. Yeye alifunja amri kalia kiti ya mtu msima mwenye amefanywa mela kubwa. Mwenye amefanywa mela kubwa.
Another striking thing about ekicholong is how one is required to wipe evidence after a sitting.
Ikikaa hivi, ukitaka kuamuka, nafanya hivi. Naanza kwenda. Ikisahau kupanguza, kuna mtu ile kuna maana wewe kuna rombaya na wewe. Nitakuja kupata hiyo keti unakaa hivyo. Inachukua unapeleka kwa choo ama unapeleka kwa mali ya moto. Sasa kupeleka kwa moto. Sasa mimi hapa naingia kitu kingine hapa. Ile nakaa kama doidoi.
The Turkana is undisputedly one of the communities whose traditions have remained untouched despite the wheels of modernization. They have held on to their beliefs, just as the men hold on to the ekicholong for comfort, status, and rest wherever the day takes them. Nancy Okwari, reporting from Kakuma, Turkana County.
A cloud of despair hangs over the coastal county of Kilifi as the COVID-19 infections increase and the number of funerals rise by the day. Although Kilifi registered its first case of coronavirus on the 26th of March 2020, the over 100 deaths over the past 3 months are far too many. According to the Ministry of Health, Kilifi's COVID positivity rate has stagnated between 12 and 18%, ranking the 5th highest county in COVID-related mortality rates. The Amason Kingi-led administration admits that ignorance, particularly amongst the elderly, contributes significantly to the exponential COVID curve.
Hatuwezi kuendelea na maisha yetu ya baadaye ikiwa tutakiuka kanuni hizi na wingu la COVID litusombe sote.
Informal air markets have been termed as the second leading mode of transmission. The county has already suspended operations at the open air market for 30 days. On each day of the week along the busy Kilifi-Malindi highway, an open air market takes place.
Jumatatu huwa tuko Tezo, Tuesday tuko Vipingo, Wednesday tuko Takaungu, Thursday tuko Kasava, leo Friday tuko hapa na kesho tunatarajia tuwe Mkoroshoni.
During the weekdays, small open-air markets such as the Mtondia market can host about 30 traders at a go. However, as the weekend approaches, the traders have to multiply to meet the demands of their customers, thus the likelihood of the spread of the deadly coronavirus. For 6 years, 35-year-old Stephen Deto has relied on the shoe vending business to fend for his close-knit family of 4. He doesn't believe that the market could be a point of transmission, but instead blames it on visiting tourists.
Wakati wamepatana na wengine wakazi wengine na maybe waanze kutembea huko mashinani, hizo vitu vinaleta. Kwa hivyo hata hii soko kwa watu wengi, hiyo si mambo ya corona.
For just a fee of 20 shillings a day, 32-year-old Evelyn Ombasa treks scheduled markets weekly to get a day's catch. A month's bail earns the single mother of 2 a profit of 7,000 shillings. The market's closure could cripple her 4 years' hustle.
Hapa ndio tegemeo la. Labda hata kama uko na mzee hapa ndio uko naye hapa. Mkifungiwa nyote utafanyaje?
On Friday, after the directive was issued, we made our way to the Mkoroshoni informal market. It is here that we meet up with Beatrice Kabao, who had just stocked up in readiness for the market day. The 4 coming weekends will mean no hefty rips, as is the norm.
Kuangalia fees ni kubwa. Sasa ndio naanza kazi, nataka kuendelea. Uone vile watoto watakavyolipia hiyo nini fees ya shule, alafu ndio kazi hizo zimekatizwa. Sisi tutafanya nini sasa?
On a normal Saturday, this place is packed to capacity, with traders hustling clients to get a day's catch. However, for the next 30 days, this place will remain deserted until the county can regulate its prevalence rate. Upon the lapse of 30 days directive, Kilifi County CSA for Health Charles Karisa says there is need to revise the guidelines in accordance with the health protocols.
This sensitization is not
to really bring people to know about COVID, but it's just to emphasize and also using the statistics to drive the message home, put enforcement measures that will help us also transform the attitude.
A change for the better could be the answer the county is looking for in the face of affected livelihoods. Juni Karisa Mbele from Kilifi County.
Ili kupata sikiza tune hii ya Warumi 8, bonyeza *811 *963#.
Nina hakika kwamba hakuna kinachoweza kukutenga na upendo wa Mwenyezi Mungu. Si kifo, si malaika, si vitu tulivyokuwa navyo au tutakavyokuwa navyo, si mamlaka au chochote kitakachoumbwa. Warumi 8:38 hadi 39.
Ili kupata sikiza tune hiyo ya Warumi 8, bonyeza *811 *9